The email notification pinged on my laptop at 2:47 a.m. Another urgent request from a client in Hong Kong who needed their fabric samples expedited. I rubbed my burning eyes and reached for my fourth cup of coffee of the night, the bitter taste mixing with the exhaustion that had become my constant companion. Through the office window, I could see the empty parking lot bathed in orange streetlight. Even the janitor had gone home hours ago. But here I was, Alexandra Novak, 25 years old with a master's degree in international business, pulling another all-nighter at my family's textile import company while my younger brother Dylan was probably passed out in some Miami nightclub, his $150,000 CEO salary funding another weekend of luxury I could only dream of. The irony burned worse than the coffee. While I managed every aspect of operations, from supplier negotiations in 3 different languages to crisis management at 3 a.m., Dylan's most challenging decision was choosing which restaurant to take clients to for his business lunches that lasted until 5 p.m. My phone buzzed with a text from him. "Bro, just closed the Peterson deal. Drinks are on me." Below was a selfie of him grinning with a martini, surrounded by laughing executives at what looked like a 5-star rooftop bar. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. The Peterson deal that I had researched, priced, and negotiated for 3 months. The same deal where I've flown to Chicago twice on my own dime because travel expenses need to be approved by the CEO, and Dylan was too busy with his girlfriend's art gallery opening to sign off on company funds. But according to my parents, Dmitry and Elena Novak, this was just how family businesses work. Dylan had the natural leadership qualities and business instincts that made him perfect for the CEO role, while I was better suited for supporting the vision, code for doing all the actual work while he took all the credit. "It's your duty as the eldest daughter," Mom would say whenever I dared to question the arrangement. "Family comes before personal ambition. Your grandfather built this business from nothing so that his children and grandchildren could prosper together." Prosper together. The phrase made me sick. Dylan was certainly prospering. BMW in the garage, penthouse apartment downtown. Vacation photos from Santorini and Aspen cluttering his Instagram. Meanwhile, I was surviving on ramen noodles and splitting rent on a studio apartment with a roommate because 70 hours a week of unpaid labor doesn't exactly build a savings account. The breaking point had been building for months, but it crystallized that Tuesday morning when I overheard Dylan on a conference call with our accountant. "Yeah, just keep paying my salary as usual," he laughed, "and make sure to categorize those Miami trip expenses as business development. Alexandra handles all the operational stuff anyway, so I need to focus on networking and deals." The accountant's voice crackled through the speakerphone. "And what about Alexandra's compensation? I don't see any payroll entries for her." "Oh, she doesn't need a salary, she's family. Plus she's learning so much about the business. That's worth more than money, right?" They both chuckled like it was the funniest joke they'd ever heard. I stood frozen in the hallway, a stack of shipping manifests clutched in my trembling hands. 3 years. 3 years of sacrificing my career, my social life, my financial future, while my little brother treated our family's legacy like his personal piggy bank. That afternoon, I did something I should have done months earlier. I called a labor attorney. Jennifer Walsh's office was in a sleek downtown building, all glass and steel that screamed competence and success. She listened to my story without interruption, taking notes on a yellow legal pad while I laid out 3 years of documentation I'd been unconsciously collecting. "The good news is you have excellent records," she said, reviewing printouts of emails, work schedules, and financial documents. "Bank records showing the business's profitability, evidence of your contributions, clear documentation of the disparity in treatment. This is actually a stronger case than most family business disputes I see." "But they're going to claim I'm just a volunteer helping out family," I said. "That's what they always say when I bring up payment." Jennifer smiled grimly. "Family businesses aren't exempt from labor laws. If you're performing regular work that directly benefits a for-profit enterprise, you're entitled to compensation regardless of your relationship to the owners. The Department of Labor takes these cases very seriously, especially when there's clear gender discrimination involved." Gender discrimination. The words hung in the air like a bell that couldn't be unrung. "Your brother gets paid $150,000 for part-time work while you work full-time for nothing," Jennifer continued. "That's textbook discriminatory practice. The fact that he's male and younger makes it even more obvious. She referred me to Sandra Martinez at the Department of Labor's Wage and Hour Division. File a complaint first, Jennifer advised. Let the DOL investigate and document everything officially. If they find violations, which they will, you'll have a much stronger position for any follow-up action. The complaint form was surprisingly simple. Basic information about the business, my role, hours worked, and compensation received. 0. But Sandra wanted documentation, and after 3 years of basically running the company, I had plenty. Email threads showing me handling everything from customer service to supplier crisis, work schedules proving my 70-hour weeks, financial records I had access to as the person who basically managed the books, meeting minutes where my contributions were discussed but never compensated. The most damning evidence was a board meeting recording from 6 months earlier, where Dad had explicitly told the other investors that my unpaid work was saving the company at least $200,000 annually in management salaries. While Sandra conducted her investigation, the atmosphere at home became increasingly toxic. I'd started setting boundaries, leaving at 8 p.m. instead of midnight, refusing to answer emails on Sundays. Push back on Dallin's assumption that I'd drop everything for his latest crisis. You're not being a team player, Dad lectured during one particularly heated family dinner. This business only works when everyone contributes equally. I am contributing equally, I shot back. More than equally. The difference is Dylan gets paid for his contributions. Dylan has different responsibilities. He's building relationships, securing deals. With research and groundwork that I provide. Dylan couldn't find Hong Kong on a map before I started preparing his client briefs. Mom jumped in with her usual guilt tactics. Family loyalty used to mean something. Your grandmother worked alongside your grandfather for 40 years and never asked for a penny. Grandmother also bought half the business when grandfather died. What exactly am I going to inherit here? The question clearly caught them off guard. In all their lectures about family obligation and shared sacrifice, they'd never actually discussed what my equity stake would be, probably because they'd never intended for me to have one. Dylan, meanwhile, seemed genuinely confused by my growing resistance to his demands. He'd burst into my office with some new project or crisis, expecting me to drop everything and solve it immediately. Why are you being so difficult lately? He asked after I told him I couldn't stay late to fix a shipping issue he created by giving a client the wrong delivery date. I'm not being difficult, I'm being professional. If you need someone to work overtime, you need to plan ahead and compensate them appropriately. Come on, Alex. We're family. Since when do you care about clocking hours? Since I realized I've been working full-time for 3 years without a single paycheck while you've collected over $400,000 in salary. He actually looked shocked, like the math had never occurred to him. The investigation moved faster than I expected. Sandra was thorough and professional, interviewing employees, reviewing financial records, and documenting every aspect of the business operations. Her preliminary findings were devastating for my parents. Clear violations of the Fair Labor Standards Act, she explained during our phone call. Based on your documented hours and responsibilities, they owe you at least $95,000 in back wages at minimum wage rates. But given your education and actual job functions, fair market compensation would be significantly higher. More interesting was what she discovered about the corporate structure. Your parents listed you as a 10% shareholder when they incorporated, but there's no record of you ever receiving distributions. Either you're not actually a shareholder, which makes the filing fraudulent, or you are a shareholder and you're owed 3 years of profit distributions. The numbers were staggering. My share of company profits over 3 years should have been around $150,000. Combined with unpaid wages, the total approached $250,000. What happens now? I asked. We can pursue wage violations through our standard process, or if you want to address the shareholder issues, we can refer this to other agencies for a broader investigation. I thought about Dylan's vacation photos, his casual assumption that I'd always be there to clean up his messes, my parents' lectures about family loyalty while they systematically exploited me. Let's pursue everything, I said. The decision to quit wasn't dramatic, just a quiet recognition that I'd reached my limit. I spent a weekend writing my resignation letter and preparing transition documents for every project I managed. Despite everything, I didn't want to sabotage the business Dad had built from nothing. Monday morning, I walked into our weekly management meeting. Dad, Mom, Dylan, and me crammed into the conference room that still smelled like Dylan's breakfast sandwich. I slid copies of my resignation letter across the table. Effective Friday, I'll be transitioning out of my role here, I announced. The silence was deafening. Dad's face cycled through several colors. Mom's eyes immediately filled with tears. Dylan just stared at the paper like it was written in hieroglyphs. "This is ridiculous," Dad finally exploded. "You can't just quit. This is a family business. You have obligations. I've been fulfilling those obligations for 3 years without compensation. I've decided to accept a position elsewhere." This was optimistic. I had some promising interviews lined up, but nothing concrete yet. Still, my Northwestern MBA and 3 years of operational experience were apparently more valuable on the open market than in my own family. "Sweetheart," Mom pleaded, "we can discuss compensation. We never wanted you to feel undervalued." Why wasn't this discussion necessary when Dylan started working here? The question hung in the air like smoke. Dylan shifted uncomfortably, probably realizing for the first time how the whole arrangement looked to an outsider. "Dylan is the CEO," Dad said weakly. "He has different responsibilities." "Yes, but I've been doing the work of a COO and CFO for 3 years. What's the market rate for those roles?" They couldn't answer because they'd never bothered to research it. In their minds, my labor was free because I was family. "Who's going to handle all your projects?" Dylan asked, panic creeping into his voice. "That's detailed in my transition documents. You'll need to hire at least 2 people to cover my responsibilities. I recommend starting the search immediately." What followed was hours of alternating bargaining and guilt trips, offers of profit sharing that should have been implemented years ago, promises of official titles that felt insulting in their lateness, reminders of family loyalty that ignored the fundamental inequality of the situation. I listened politely and declined everything. Not to be vindictive, but because I'd lost faith that they'd ever treat me as an equal rather than free labor with a genetic obligation to sacrifice. My last week was surreal. Word spread quickly among employees that I was leaving, and their reactions were both heartwarming and validating. These people had watched me work myself into the ground. They knew who really kept things running. "Miss Alex," our shipping manager Carlos said, "I don't know how this place gonna survive without you. You're the only one who understands how everything connects." He wasn't wrong. I built most of our systems from scratch, cultivated relationships with every key supplier, and developed the institutional knowledge that made daily operations possible. Friday afternoon, I cleaned out my desk and returned my access cards. Dad hadn't spoken to me all week. Mom alternated between weepy guilt trips and angry lectures about family betrayal. Dylan cornered me in the parking lot as I loaded boxes into my car. "Alex, this is insane. We're family. We work things out." "Family doesn't exploit family, Dylan. Nobody exploited you. You were getting incredible experience learning the business. You were getting experience too. The difference is you were also getting paid $150,000 a year for it." He had no response to that. The immediate aftermath was almost comical. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Monday morning, then every 20 minutes until noon. Panicked voices asking where files were located, how to handle various crises when I was coming back. I didn't answer any of them. The texts were more entertaining. Dylan begging me to just consult remotely until we figure this out. Mom sending guilt-laden essays about family obligations. Dad's single message: "This is selfish and immature." By Wednesday, Mom showed up at my apartment with tears and homemade baklava. "The whole business is falling apart," she sobbed. "Your father had to cancel the Morrison contract meeting because nobody knows how to prepare the presentation. Dylan can't access the supplier database. The warehouse is backed up because no one understands the shipping protocols you created." "Sounds like a management problem," I said gently. "They'll need to hire qualified people." "We can't afford to hire people right now." This was laughable. I'd seen the books. The business was profitable enough to pay Dylan 6 figures while maintaining substantial cash reserves. "Mom, I love you, but I'm not coming back." This situation was never sustainable. She left with her baklava untouched, muttering about ungrateful children. The Department of Labor case moved forward steadily. My parents hired an employment attorney who tried to argue that I was a volunteer motivated by family affection. The argument crumbled when Sandra presented evidence of my regular responsibilities, the business's dependence on my work, and the profit distributions that had mysteriously bypassed me. The case ultimately settled. The final number was $240,000. Less than my full calculation, but enough to make a statement. More importantly, the settlement required changes going forward. Any family members working for the business had to receive fair market compensation. Dylan's salary was restructured to reflect his actual contributions. New policies ensured proper shareholder distributions. I used part of the settlement to relocate to Seattle and accept a position with a tech company that had been courting me. The work was challenging but fairly compensated, and my experience managing operations for a family business turned out to be incredibly valuable. The family relationships were harder to repair. Dad never quite forgave me for airing private matters publicly. Mom gradually came around, especially after seeing how much happier I was. Dylan and I actually developed a better relationship once we weren't trapped in a toxic workplace dynamic. Ironically, the business improved once they were forced to operate professionally. With proper staffing and systems, they expanded into new markets and increased profitability. Dad grudgingly admitted that maybe it worked out, though he still insisted my methods were unnecessarily dramatic. 2 years later, Sandra called to ask if I'd speak to a Department of Labor training session about family business exploitation cases. Standing in front of a room full of investigators, I shared what I've learned. Document everything, not just for legal purposes, but for your own sanity. When people who claim to love you systematically devalue your contributions, it's easy to internalize their narrative. One investigator asked how I'd found the courage to pursue the case despite family pressure. I realized that real love doesn't require some family members to sacrifice everything so others can prosper, I said. If demanding fair treatment damages the relationship was already broken. The settlement money was nice, but the real victory was breaking a cycle that could have continued indefinitely. I'd shown my family, and myself, that love and loyalty don't require accepting exploitation. Sometimes the person who will do your job after you quit isn't another family member willing to work for free. Sometimes it's a Department of Labor investigator with a calculator and a very different perspective on fair compensation. The business still operates today, more professionally managed and properly staffed. Dad still tells people I helped out for a while before pursuing other opportunities. I don't correct him anymore. The truth is in my career, my bank account, and the precedent set for future family members. Justice doesn't always look like revenge. Sometimes it looks like a government investigator asking simple questions like, why is one child paid while the other works for free? Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to accept because we're family as an excuse for exploitation. That investigator, as it turned out, was worth every penny they didn't pay me.
I booked the banquet room the way I clock into a shift, automatically, without asking who else is covering the floor. The chain place at Easton has a private room with a wall TV and a sliding door, capacity 30. The manager slid the contract across the table. I initialed the boxes, and my visa took a $250 deposit like it was clockwork. My name is Evangeline King. I'm 30, a certified nursing assistant who works rotating shifts at Riverside Methodist here in Columbus. I live in a second-floor one-bedroom off Indianola, with a window unit that rattles in the summer and heat that sometimes needs a kick in the winter. I'm the older sister, the one who plans, drives, swipes, and says, "It's fine," even when it isn't. Marley is 27. She's magnetic, the kind of person who gets upgraded somehow, even in waiting rooms. She just got promoted to office manager at a dental clinic in Gahanna last Friday, and everybody wants to celebrate. Our mom, Naomi, is 54 and allergic to conflict. She says things like, "It's not worth a fight," the way other moms pass salt. Marley's boyfriend, Zachary, is 29 and likes anything that looks like a big deal. Balloons, bottle service, the word open. My friend Riley is 31, likes to sit at the edge of the noise and say the truest thing in the room. My cousin Yara is 28 and always arrives with commentary and an extra someone. I signed for the room on a Wednesday afternoon after a double. I'd worked 3 to 11, then picked up 11 to 7 because Amanda called off and Mr. Connolly needed 2-person assist. By 7:10, my feet were buzzing and I smelled like chlorhexidine and coffee. I slept 3 hours, showered, pulled my hair into a bun, and drove to the restaurant with a folder of printouts and a pen that writes even upside down. Wade, his name tag said Wade, manager, was calm without being slow. He talked through the package. Family-style appetizers. Guests order their own entrees off a limited menu. The server keeps a separate tab for alcohol. Gratuity is added at the end. You can bring a cake, he said, pointing at the line. No cutting fee for booked events. If you want to use the TV for a slideshow, just bring an HDMI cable. He watched me read, didn't rush when my eyes ran back over a paragraph. I skimmed most of the legal-sounding bits and initialed. He took the deposit and printed a receipt with my name on it. We're set for Saturday at 6:30, he said. Room opens at 6 if you want to set up. I drove straight to Sweet Crumbs in a strip mall off Morse and ordered a sheet cake. Half vanilla, half chocolate. Whipped icing. Congratulations, Marley. In teal. $120. Paid in full because I've learned not to leave balances that can surprise me later. Pick up at 4:30 on Saturday. I texted the group. Dinner for Marley's promotion is Saturday at 6:30 at BJ's Easton. Private room. I've got the cake. Mom replied with 3 heart emojis and, "You're good at this." It was supposed to be a compliment. It felt like a job description. That night, between laundry and packing my scrub bag for another 7 to 3, I built a slideshow on my old Dell with the loose hinge. I dug photos out of a flash drive. Marley with bangs and braces. Marley in a too big cap and gown. Marley blowing out candles at 12 while I cut slices. Marley and me at Alum Creek with sunburned noses. I added captions in a plain font and saved everything onto a thumb drive in the desktop, then stuffed an HDMI cable into my tote so I wouldn't forget it. I told myself it was generosity, not penance. I said it out loud while I taped the printed program to the inside of the folder. Appetizers at 6:45, quick toast at 7:15, cake at 8:15. I wrote names on place cards because it makes big tables calmer when people don't have to negotiate chairs. I picked up 2 plastic frames at Target for a Congrats Marley sign and a little, "Please sign the card" prompt. The total rang up stupidly high because I also grabbed batteries and a lint roller. I shrugged and told myself I could always pick up Sunday overtime if the month got tight. It's what I do. Marley FaceTimed me from her car and chattered about the new scheduling software she gets to learn and the new blazer she ordered. She said, "You're the best, Ev. You always make things nice," and blew a kiss at the screen before hanging up on a yellow light. I took the folder off the counter and slid it into my tote next to the laptop. I turned off the kitchen light. I tried to feel proud. At the edge of sleep, with my alarm already set for 5:30, I thought about how this always goes. I fix, I pay, I disappear. I felt that slow, low burn I call hungry, even after I'd eaten toast standing up. On the Notes app in my phone, under the checklist, deposit, cake, slideshow, frames, I added a line that wasn't a task. If it gets disrespectful, I'll handle it differently this time. Then I turned my phone face down and let the screen go dark. By Thursday morning, the list in my Notes app had neat checkboxes next to 10 names. By lunch, it was 16. By the time I clocked out at 3, it was 21 and I'd stopped pretending I wasn't doing headcount math in my head. It started with Marley texting, "Can I add Kelsey and Jay from the clinic? They've been hyping me all week. I'll Venmo you later." I was at the med cart, waiting for a pump to prime, and typed back, "Add them. Please have them RSVP so I can set the room." She sent heart hands and 3 champagne emojis. Then Yara called while I was in line at Kroger. I told my neighbor about it and she's dying to come. "She's fun, Ev. She'll liven it up. It's fine, right?" "Is she family?" I asked, eyeing the cake plates I'd grabbed because the restaurants were always tiny. "Family adjacent. Also, I might bring someone from work. 2 tops," she said. "You've got it." I stared at the paper plates. Text me full names for the place cards. Naomi, on a separate thread, said, Aunt Dee might stop by if she feels up to it. Don't make her feel like a burden. Have her come. I'll put her near the end, I said. I added 2 more cards to the stack migrating across my kitchen table. When I updated the group with current count 18, please no more +1s without telling me, Zachary dropped in. We doing open bar, right? It's a promotion, not a potluck. It's a cash bar, I typed. I'm covering appetizers and the cake. He replied with a laughing emoji and, Babe deserves a night. Don't be cheap. He wasn't talking to me by name, but it hit like he was. I called the restaurant from my car before pulling out of the lot. It's Evangeline for Saturday. Our head count's creeping. We're at about 20. Wade picked up. No problem. We staff for 30 in that room. Just give me a final number by Friday afternoon if you can. Got it. It's still family-style apps. Guests order their own entrees, right? Correct. Alcohol on separate tabs, unless you want to put a card down to cover. I don't, I said, watching a delivery truck back into 2 spaces like it was nothing. Thank you. At home, I spread the place cards out and redid the layout, scribbling arrows, moving Naomi next to Aunt Dee, putting Zachary with Marley's co-workers so he'd have an audience. I pressed the caps back on my Sharpies and ran to Target for more cardstock because my first pack was ugly when flipped over. The frames were already in a bag by the door, along with the HDMI cable, the thumb drive, the printed little program I knew no one would read. Friday at lunch, another ping. Marley again. Can we add Dr. Patel and his wife? He's my boss. Super important. How many is that? I typed. 2. I'll Venmo you later, she wrote, like it was a reflex. Add them. Please tell them it's a private room at BJ's Easton 6:30. Done. You're amazing, she said, and followed with a boomerang of her new blazer in the mirror with Big Boss Energy written across it. By 2, she posted a story, a screenshot of the reservation confirmation graphic she'd made, confetti gifts, a caption that said, So grateful for everyone throwing me a dinner. Can't wait to celebrate with my people. She tagged Zachary, her 2 clinic friends, and the dental practice. No tag for me. My name wasn't in everyone. I watched it twice, then closed the app and texted Wade. Head count 24. Noted, he replied. We'll have extra hands on apps. Cake table will be set. Room opens at 6. Saturday ran like a checklist. I worked 7 to 3 because I didn't want Sunday overtime hanging over me. I turned in my badge at 3:07, changed shoes in my car, and drove to Sweet Crumbs. The cake box barely fit on my passenger seat. Be careful with corners, the girl at the counter warned, like I was carrying glass. At home, I swapped scrubs for a black dress and flats, tied my hair back, and taped the Congrats Marley sign into one of the frames. I slid the gift card into an envelope with her name and a little heart I drew without thinking. I packed the laptop and the HDMI, checked the thumb drive twice. When I lifted the cake into the back seat, the frosting smelled like grocery store birthdays and sugar headaches. I got to BJ's at 5:55. Wade had the room open and a server wiping down the last table. You must be Evangeline, he said. Cake table is here. Do you want the slideshow on the TV by the head table? Yes, thanks, I said. I plugged my old Dell in, waited for it to find the HDMI feed, and the first photo, the one where Marley's front teeth are missing and she's grinning with a popsicle, filled the screen. The room looked nice. It looked like effort. I set out the place cards, shifted the balloons Naomi had asked the hostess to blow up, and taped the little, "Please sign the card" prompt to the table near the door. At 6:12, my phone buzzed with a photo from Riley. A parking lot selfie, 2 thumbs up. On my way. Need me to grab anything? Maybe a roll of tape if you have it in your car, I wrote. She showed up at 6:20, tossed me a blue painter's tape roll like we were on a softball team, and helped me straighten the chairs. At 6:15 exactly, Marley's name lit my screen. Make yourself useful. Stay by the door, her text said. People are going to be confused about where to go. I stared at the words, felt my mouth go dry, and looked over at the chair I'd planned to sit in. It looked farther away than it was. I moved to the doorway like I'd been assigned a station. The little "Please sign the card" sign sat on the table to my left, Sharpie uncapped, a stack of place cards in my hand. I had a handwritten list on a clipboard I'd stolen from my car, the back of an old care plan under fresh printer paper. Smile, greet, point, repeat. Riley squeezed my forearm. "You okay?" "Yep. Door duty," I said, and my mouth did a smile that felt like I was clocking in. At 6:25, Naomi floated in with a cluster of balloons from the hostess stand. "It looks lovely," she said, looking past me at the slideshow looping photos of Marley with cake faces and scraped knees. "You're good at this." She kissed my cheek and drifted toward the head table to straighten napkins that were already straight. Dr. Patel and his wife arrived next. I recognized them from a Christmas photo Marley posted, her in a sequined top between two people in tasteful sweaters. "Welcome," I said. "We're in the private room just down this hall. I'm Evangeline." I pointed them to their place cards near the front and watched Dr. Patel read, "Congratulations, Marley," on the cake and smile with the polite surprise of someone who thought this might be smaller. Aunt Dee came slowly with her cane and a leopard print scarf. "Where am I, sweetheart?" she asked, leaning into the room like it might bite. "Right here," I said, guiding her to the end by Naomi. "Short walk to the bathroom and you can see the TV." "Bless you," she said, patting my hand. It settled something in my chest for half a second. People trickled in. Kelsey and Jay from the clinic hugged the card table like it was a photo booth. Zachary swept in at 6:33 in a bomber jacket and cologne you could feel from a step away. "Where's my girl?" he asked, kissing the air near my temple and scanning the room like he was searching for a VIP rope. "On her way," I said. "Sign the card?" He scribbled, "Si Quem, always winning," and drew a $sign for the S, then beelined to the bar at the back of the room without waiting for directions. At 6:36, Yara appeared with two women I didn't recognize, both in bodycon dresses, both already laughing. "Ev, it's cute in here," she said, skimming a hand over the table runner like she'd approved it. "This is Zuri and Danny. They're a riot. It's fine, Ev's got it." I looked at the list, then at the extra faces. "Hey, welcome." I made two quick, tidy place cards with my pen, Zuri, Danny, and set them near Yara like they'd been planned. "Cash bars that way? Appetizers will come out in a few." "Cash bar?" Zuri repeated, not mad, just surprised. "Yep," I said, matching her tone. "Menu's on the table." Yara waved at the bartender. "We'll start with 3 margaritas," she called. Then to me, "You're saving me a dance later." She laughed at her own joke and glided inside. Riley fell into step beside me as a couple from Marley's gym slipped past us. "You need water?" she murmured. "I'm fine," I said, marking a couple more names. The list looked like a nurse's note, initials and small check marks marching down the page. Wade appeared near my elbow at 6:40 with that calm, clean energy. "Everything good at the door?" he asked, eyes taking in the room without sticking. "Yep." "We're at about 20 here," I said. "Appetizers at 6:45? He nodded. "We'll drop them." "If you need anything, I'll be by the host stand." A small wave of people arrived at once. Naomi's friend from church, 2 of Marley's clinic reps, an uncle I hadn't seen in a year. I caught names and directed bodies like a hostess, my smile doing overtime. The slideshow cycled to Marley's cap and gown photo. Someone clapped. The buzz rose. At 6:46, the sliding door nudged again, and Marley breezed in like she owned the room she hadn't touched. Hair perfect, perfume loud, a blazer I recognized from her story. She was on her phone and half hugging someone at the same time, an orbit with gravity. "There she is," Naomi sang from across the room. People cheered. Marley locked eyes with me for half a second. "Make yourself useful. "Hold that. I don't want to carry it. And tell the bar it's open," she said, and tossed her purse in my direction without breaking stride. It was a heavy, slouchy thing. I reached without thinking. The strap caught my fingers, then slipped, and the purse hit my chest with a dull thud. Something small and cylindrical inside, a travel perfume, jabbed me just below my collarbone. My eyes watered from the shock. I gripped the strap and steadied it, my skin stinging. "Can you grab Aunt Dee a water?" Naomi called, already fluffing the napkins again as if nothing had happened. "Babe!" Zachary shouted from the bar, throwing his arms wide. "Finally!" Marley was already mid-hug with Kelsey, laughing, hair swinging. "Open bar," she repeated over her shoulder to me, a flick of her fingers like she was pointing at a light switch. I stood there with her purse strap biting into my palm, my handwritten list bent under my thumb, my clipboard warm with fingerprints. The TV threw a slow pan of Marley at 12, blowing out candles while I cut slices. I could smell the cake frosting and Marley's perfume leaking out of the unzipped purse. Riley looked at me, eyebrows up, saying nothing. Somewhere, a server set down a tray and the room clapped again for a joke I didn't hear. I caught the purse one-handed, adjusted it on the chair next to me like it belonged to someone else, and something in me finally stopped cooperating. I set Marley's purse on the chair by the door like it was lost and found and wiped my palm on my dress. The room swelled the way rooms do when the person they're here for arrives. A server slid a tray of spinach artichoke dip onto the center table and announced, "Appetizers are out," like he was dropping an anchor. My brain, stubborn as an old TV, ran its own channel. Marley saying, "I'll Venmo you later," after brunch at Skillet. Naomi handing me a check for half that bounced 2 days later. Zachary waving the server back at Thanksgiving to order another round and saying, "Evangeline's got it." Me calculating tip on a back of receipt heart. 2 shots of tequila and a round of beers for the table, Zachary told the bartender, voice pitched for nearby ears. He jerked a thumb in my direction. "My girl sister's got it." My face went hot, then cold so fast it felt like stepping from a shower into air conditioning. The bartender glanced over at me, question on his face. He was young, careful. "Are we opening a bar tab to the event?" he asked, tone neutral, eyes flicking toward the clipboard in my hand like I was the authority. "No," I said. My voice came out steady and surprisingly quiet in my own ears. "Separate tabs." Zachary's mouth pulled into a smirk. "Come on, Ev. Don't be like that. It's a celebration." "It's separate tabs," I repeated, and I didn't look at him. I set the clipboard down, picked it back up, and moved toward the host stand like it was my next assignment. Wade was there, conferring with the server team over an event sheet on a brown clipboard. He looked up when I approached. "Everything okay?" he asked. He didn't say it like a challenge. He said it like a weather report. "I need to see the event sheet," I said, "and I want to confirm what my card is covering." He turned the clipboard so I could see. The top had my name, the room, the time. Package: family-style appetizers. Entrees: limited menu, billed to payer of record or to guests individually. Host to decide. Alcohol: separate tabs unless host places a card on file, it read. There was a section titled Finalization, with a line in bold I somehow missed 2 days ago. Final bill may be reassigned prior to entree service. I followed the words with my finger like they might move. The crowd behind me hummed. Someone laughed too loud. My own handwriting was on the clocked-in plan taped inside my folder. Appetizers at 6:45, toast at 7:15. Entrees would be ordered after that toast. I had a window. "I want to move the final bill off my card," I said. "No open bar." "I'll cover the deposit and appetizers. After that, the guest of honor can settle." Wade studied my face like he was checking pupils. Not judgmental, just making sure he heard me right. "We can do that," he said. He slid a pen across the podium for a signature next to the line about reassignment. "We'll need a payer at the end of service." "I understand," I said. Behind me, Naomi's voice carried, light and warm. "Evangeline, can you get Aunt Dee a water?" Habit tugged at me like a sleeve. "I'll let her server know," I said without turning. Wade gave a small nod. He'd heard. "Any items currently on a running tab?" he asked, looking to the bartender. The bartender shook his head slightly, eyes flicking to me again as if grateful for an answer. "We've been holding until we got clarification." "Thank you," I said to him. He offered a quick professional smile and went back to pouring sodas. At the edge of my vision, Marley was doing a spin so the clinic girls could admire her blazer. "My sister got this whole room," she said, chin high, the words landing somewhere between a brag and a claim. I thought about the thumb drive in my tote, the cake I paid for steaming sugar into the air, my visa sitting like a lifeline on a page. "Is there anything else on your card you want to leave?" Wade asked. "Cake fee is waived for events. You already paid the deposit." "I paid for the cake separately," I said, "and I'm covering the appetizers." "That's it." He nodded. "We'll keep alcohol separate and hold entrees for reassignment at the table. The kitchen can paste to your toast." Zachary leaned on the bar like a billboard. "So is the grown-up decision yes or no?" he called out, voice dipped in a laugh. "Separate tabs," I said again, not looking at him, and the bartender started placing beers on napkins like he hadn't been waiting for permission. Riley sidled up next to me, her shoulder brushing mine. "Breathing?" she asked out of the side of her mouth. "In and out," I said. My pulse had settled into something measured, like a monitor beeping steadily instead of spiking. Wade flipped to the back page and circled a couple of lines with his pen. "Here's how we'll do it," he said calmly. "We'll print an itemized receipt for the appetizers and close that to your card now. After that, nothing else touches your card unless you authorize it. When you're ready, we can reassign the final bill to a different guest." "Good," I said. "Do I need to tell you who now?" "Anytime before entrees are ordered," he said. "We'll make the announcement so service is smooth." I exhaled. The words on the paper stopped swimming. In the room, Naomi raised a glass with water in it and practiced to Marley, to no one in particular. Yara was telling Zuri and Danny a story with both hands. Dr. Patel laughed at something his wife said and glanced toward the door, maybe for Marley's father who wasn't here because he never is. The slideshow flicked to Marley at 12 again, candles bright, me in the background holding a knife over a sheet cake. Wade tapped the pen on the reassignment line like a metronome and met my eyes. "Would you like to close out what's already been served?" "Close appetizers, yes," I said, and signed next to the reassignment line. It felt like checking a box I'd been walking around for years. Wade flagged a server. "Total the family-style apps to this card now, please," he said, tapping my name on the page. He turned back to me. "You brought a cake. Do you want us to rebox it and hold it in back for you?" "Yes," I said. "It's mine." "I'll take it when I leave." "Got it." He scribbled, "Hold cake E. King," on a post-it and tucked it under his thumb. The bartender passed with a tray of sodas. He caught my eye like we were finishing a conversation. "Separate tabs," he confirmed softly. "Separate tabs," I said. He nodded and kept moving. Behind us, a cheer went up at nothing in particular. Marley's laugh popped above it, bright and effortless. "You look amazing," Kelsey said. "Your sister did so much." Marley tilted her head, soaking it in. "I mean, it's all of us," she said, gesturing at the room. A server slid a small black folder toward me at the stand. Inside was an itemized printout. Deposit on file noted, family-style appetizers listed by platter with quantities, an 18% service charge line, tax, and a bold, all alcohol and entrees not included. The bottom had a 0 under balance to be settled at end of event. Everything else, blank. "This is exactly what's on your card," Wade said. "Nothing else." I read each line, slow. The numbers were not a surprise. They were also not a favor. I slid my visa from my wallet. He ran it and handed me the slip. I signed my name and put the merchant copy behind my driver's license so I wouldn't lose it in the shuffle. "Kitchen?" Wade said into the little mic clipped to his collar. "Box guest cake and label, hold cake, E. King. Keep original bakery box if available." I walked to the cake table and lifted the plastic knife Naomi had set there for later. The sweet crumbs box sat under the table, lid folded. The pickup sticker with my name was still taped to the side from this afternoon. I ran a finger over it and pushed the box closer to the edge for the server to grab. Riley drifted with me, light on her feet. "You need me to walk anything to your car?" she asked. "In a minute," I said. "I'm going to pack up the slideshow." Her eyes flicked to the TV and back. "Okay." I went to the head table, crouched behind the stack of menus, and unplugged my old Dell. The HDMI cord slid free with a little click. The TV went to the restaurant's looping logo. The room didn't notice for a beat. Then Jay pointed up. "Oh no, it died," she said. "Tech hiccup," I said, tucking the cable into my tote. "No one asked me to fix it. No one offered to." I crossed to the door table where the big card sat propped in its plastic frame. The envelope I'd addressed to Marley with a little heart was tucked underneath. I slid the flap open with my thumb, pulled the gift card out, and slipped it into my wallet. I put the empty envelope back under the frame like a placeholder and capped the Sharpie. Riley watched my hands and gave me one short nod. It felt like permission I didn't need, but wanted anyway. "Ev!" Naomi called, appearing at my side with that half smile she uses for smoothing. "They want more waters at the clinic table." "Their server is right there," I said, meeting her eyes for once instead of looking past. She blinked, then turned and flagged the server down herself. A runner appeared to grab the cake. "We're going to box this up for you," he said. "Do you want us to put it in the office?" "Yes, thank you," I said. He slid the bakery box onto the table, eased the cake inside with practiced hands, and pressed the lid down without smearing the teal letters. The pickup sticker with my name was visible on the side. He carried it out like it was a newborn. At the bar, Zachary raised a shot with two of Marley's co-workers. "To promotions and generous sisters," he said loudly. A couple of people laughed the way people laugh when they're not sure where to put their eyes. "Entree menus?" Wade asked the server team, voice low but firm. They nodded and hovered, waiting for a cue. I looked one last time at the room I'd set for someone else, place cards straightened, frames propped, a card everyone was signing like a guest book for a party that didn't see me. Marley's purse still sat on the chair where I'd placed it, gaping open a little, the travel perfume cap glinting. Riley nudged me with her elbow. "You're good," she whispered. "I'm good," I said, and the truth of it surprised me. Wade stepped toward the little mic stand near the front of the room, napkin tucked under his arm, the event sheet on his clipboard. He checked the battery on the mic with a thumb and glanced my way. I gave him a small nod. Naomi slid in at my elbow, fingers light on my sleeve, voice low enough to be just for me. "What are you doing?" she whispered, eyes skimming from the dark TV to the missing cake box to the empty envelope. Her smile held, but the corners of her mouth trembled. Wade tapped the mic once. The room paused on instinct. Naomi's fingers tightened on my sleeve when the mic made that soft pop. "What are you doing?" she whispered again, smile still pasted on like she was in a photo. "I'm not hosting," I said. The words were plain. They didn't echo. They just sat there. She blinked. "Don't make a scene, Evangeline. It's Marley's night." Her eyes darted to the room. Dr. Patel laughing with his wife. Yara showing Zuri and Danny something on her phone. Zachary already angling his body to face the mic like he expected an MC shout-out. "I'm not making a scene," I said. "I'm just not hosting." Naomi opened her mouth, closed it. Her hand fell from my sleeve and found the edge of a napkin to smooth. "We'll talk later," she said. The way someone might promise a storm will pass if you just go inside. Riley drifted in, stationing herself like a human buffer. She didn't say anything, just stood so Naomi had to face the room again. I picked up Marley's purse from the chair by the door. It was heavier than it looked. I carried it 2 steps into the room and set it on an empty seat at the second table, where 3 people had left their jackets. I pushed the strap so it wouldn't slide off. Not my weight. My own coat was on the back of a chair by the wall, folded over my tote. I slipped one arm in, then the other, even though I wasn't leaving yet. The room was warm, but the coat made me feel finished. I slid the tote strap onto my shoulder and angled the opening closed over the laptop. Wade adjusted the mic on the small stand. He gave the server team a quick nod and pointed to the stack of entree menus. They paused, waiting. He looked at me, not asking, just confirming. I nodded once. He turned a dial on the base and tested. "Good evening?" without pressing fully into the room yet. Naomi took a half step toward him and then back toward me, caught on the line between the table she wanted to tend and the daughter she wanted to redirect. "Please don't embarrass your sister," she murmured, eyes pleading. "I'm not," I said. "Everything's set. She can handle the rest." From the bar, Zachary laughed loud at something only he said. "We got a mic? Okay, make it official," he called, raising his shot glass toward Wade like he was christening a ship. Kelsey and Jay were lining up their phones for a photo of Marley by the cake table, now just a plastic knife and a "Congratulations Marley" sign with no cake under it. Marley didn't notice the missing box. She was mid-laugh, hand over her heart, chin tilted like the light was there. Aunt Dee tapped her cane on the floor twice and waved toward a server. "Sugar-free if you got it," she said, then spotted me and gave me a wink like we were in on the same quiet joke. I handed my handwritten list to the host stand, sliding it next to Wade's cleaner event sheet. "You won't need this," I said to no one, and the young hostess smiled like I'd just donated school supplies. Riley leaned in. "You good to stand by the door with me?" she asked. "For a minute," I said. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, probably one of Marley's co-workers lost in the mall lot. But I turned it face down on the table. Wade had said he would handle the scene with a receipt and a microphone. I believed him. Naomi brushed past me toward the head table, putting herself next to Marley like a prop. "We're so grateful," she said to Dr. Patel, voice bright, eyes still scanning. "Evangeline did a lot. We all did a lot." The words layered over each other, thin and quick. The hum in the room had that pre-announcement shift. People finishing sentences, adjusting their chairs. The servers ringed the doorway with appetizer refills they wouldn't drop until Wade gave the cue. The projector screen showed the restaurant's logo now. A couple of people noticed and shrugged. Yara whispered to Danny, and they both looked toward the mic, eager for the next thing. My heart wasn't pounding. It felt like that moment you hit clock out and the floor noise slides into the background because your body knows it isn't responsible for it anymore. I smoothed the edge of my coat sleeve, felt the rough seam catch under my thumb, and exhaled. The smell of sugar from the cake box was gone. The air was beer, citrus, perfume. Wade adjusted the mic height slightly and glanced at me once more. "We're ready when you are," he said, low, then lifted his head to the room. Naomi appeared at my elbow again, the smile back in place but tighter. "You can fix this with one word," she hissed, breath barely moving. "Just say it's on you." "You always make it right." "No," I said. It wasn't sharp. It was just the word. Riley's hand found the back of my arm, a small, steady pressure. "We're here," she said. It wasn't a rallying cry. It was a fact. At the bar, Zachary clinked his shot against a beer bottle. "To Marley!" he yelled prematurely. A few people echoed him out of habit more than conviction. Marley looked up, finally clocking Wade at the mic. "Oh." "Speech," she sang, smoothing her blazer and pulling Naomi in close like they'd rehearsed it. She glanced toward me, and for a second her eyes flicked to the dark TV, the missing cake, the door where I stood with my coat on and my tote zipped. Something like confusion moved over her face and then was gone, replaced by the camera-ready smile she uses for everything from new shoes to new titles. Wade tapped the mic once more, and the room went fully quiet. Wade lifted the mic with that steady, neutral voice managers use when they're about to steer a boat full of people through a narrow channel. "Good evening, everyone. Welcome to BJ's at Easton, and congratulations to Marley on her promotion," he said, giving the room a quick, respectful smile. "A couple of quick notes so service goes smoothly. Appetizers have been hosted and are now closed. For clarity, the bar is cash or card this evening. There is no hosted bar. And at the end of the night, the final bill for entrees and non-alcoholic beverages will be settled by the guest of honor." The phrase guest of honor landed like a dropped tray. Heads turned to Marley automatically. Her smile twitched. She blinked and then did that fast laugh she uses to stitch a moment back together. "Oh, okay," she said, too bright. Kelsey's phone kept recording, then tilted down. Zachary muttered, not bothering to lower his volume. "That's tacky." He tossed back the end of his beer like punctuation. Someone at Yara's table laughed too loud, the kind of laugh people do when they don't know if they're supposed to clap. Yara shushed her own laugh with the back of her hand and looked at me like I'd just flipped a breaker she needed on. Wade kept it moving, professional and unfazed. "Servers will be by with entree menus. If you have any questions about checks or tabs, just let us know." "Congratulations again, Marley." He handed the mic off to a server and started dispersing menus with his team, his eyes never sticky on anyone. Naomi's smile didn't crack, but her voice did. "Evangeline," she said across a small distance that felt bigger than the room. "What did you do?" It wasn't a question so much as a warning. Marley crossed the space between us in 3 quick steps and pinched my sleeve, not hard but sharp enough to feel. "What did you do?" she hissed, low, eyes glittering. Up close, I could smell her perfume and the bite of tequila from the bar. "Remove my card," I said. "No more events on my card." For a beat, she just stared, like she was waiting for the punchline. "You're humiliating me," she said finally, the edges of her voice fraying, in front of my boss. "I'm not humiliating you," I said. "I'm just not paying for this." Naomi slid in, putting a palm between us that didn't touch either of us. "Ev," she said, my name tightened into a plea. "Don't do this now. Don't make a scene." "I'm not making a scene," I said, and kept my voice low enough that only the 3 of us could hear. "Everything's set. Enjoy your dinner. Settle your bill." Zachary leaned into our little triangle without actually stepping in. "You couldn't wait until after?" he said, eyebrows up like he was scolding a toddler. "This is petty." Riley's voice came from behind me, even and soft. "Back off." She didn't raise it. She didn't step closer. She just let the words sit there. Dr. Patel, taking the cue from Wade, lifted a menu and started talking to his wife about the salmon. The room, seeing a path, followed. Servers smiled, pencils poised. Aunt Dee asked her server about the chicken and tapped her cane twice like she liked the rhythm. The wheel turned without me. Marley loosened her grip on my sleeve and looked past me at the dark TV, the absent cake, the purse perched on the chair. She swallowed, the movement visible. "Unbelievable," she said, but it sounded smaller than she wanted it to. "I'll get out of your way," I said. I slid my arm free and picked up my tote strap. "Congrats on your promotion." Naomi reached for me again with her eyes, if not her hand. "We'll talk later," she said, layered with that old promise that later exists and fixes things. "Maybe," I said. "Not about this." Zachary snorted. "Whatever. We'll handle it." His eyes tracked the mic like maybe he still expected an announcement to erase this. Wade's team flowed around us with menus and practiced check-ins. Can I start you with waters? Any allergies we should know about? The engine of the evening engaged without needing me at the controls. I turned toward the door. Riley stepped with me. I'll grab the cake, she murmured, already half turned toward the host stand like a handoff was routine. Thanks, I said. My throat wasn't tight. It was clear. Naomi called my name one more time, softer, like she meant it differently now. I looked back long enough to give her a small nod, then let the sliding door ease along its track. It closed with that soft, weighted hush that sounds like a period. The hallway outside was cooler. My coat made sense there. I could hear the room pick up again immediately. Chairs scooting, forks setting, someone clapping for a toast that shifted into a joke to break the tension. Wade's voice, steady, was explaining the limited menu to a table near the door. No one came after me. I passed the host stand. The young hostess smiled, not the fake kind, and lifted a hand. Have a good night, she said, like she meant it. Thanks for your help, I said, and meant that too. By the time I hit the outer doors and the mall air caught me, cologne, cold, whatever popcorn place was venting, my phone started buzzing. 1, then 2, then a steady string. I didn't look. I walked to my car, the cake smell already a ghost, my tote heavier by exactly the weight of my own things and nothing extra. My phone buzzed before I made it out of the lot. By the time I slid into the driver's seat, the screen was stacked with texts. Naomi, come back in and fix this, please. We can talk about it later. Marley, you humiliated me in front of my boss. What is wrong with you? Zachary. Then, tacky. Yara. Girl, what happened? A few of Marley's clinic friends I barely knew. Is the bar really cash? Where'd the cake go? I hadn't given them my number. Marley must have dropped it in a thread. I opened the family group and typed one thing. No more events on my card. Ever. I hit send, put the thread on mute, and set the phone face down on the passenger seat. Riley called. I've got the cake. Meet you at your place? Yep, I said. Door sticks. Push with your hip. 15 minutes later, she knocked and then shouldered herself in with the bakery box like we were moving a couch. I cleared a space on my little Formica counter. The box still had the pickup sticker with my name on it. The teal, "Congratulations, Marley," looked a little rattled, but intact. I don't have plates that fit, I said. Paper towels, Riley said, already pulling 2. She dug a butter knife out of my drawer and cut a crooked corner, handed it to me, then cut another for herself. We leaned against the counter and ate standing up, frosting smearing the paper towels, sugar hitting like relief. I'm proud of you, she said after a minute. Quiet, not a speech. Thanks, I said. My shoulders dropped for the first time since I'd put on my coat. We ate another corner. We laughed at nothing in particular and everything in general until it turned into breathing. My phone lit up again with a call from Naomi. I sent it to voicemail. Texts kept coming. Marley's alternating between heat and cold. Zachary throwing in unhelpful color commentary. Naomi pivoting to, "We'll sort it out tomorrow." I didn't answer any of it. By the time Riley left with 2 plates wrapped in foil because she insisted she was paying rent on my cake, the apartment had that after-party calm I always work for and never get. I showered, set my alarm for a regular 7 to 3 on Monday, and slept like I had done exactly what I meant to do. Late Sunday morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Yara, a screenshot of a message from someone tagged in Marley's story, and a paragraph from Yara herself. She was big mad last night, but she paid it. Put it on her card. Canceled those concert tickets she was bragging about to cover it, and returned the Steve Madden heels today. I'm not saying you were wrong, just, whew. Whew, I typed back. Then, thanks for telling me. Around 4, Naomi called again. Dinner at 6? she asked, the tone soft like we were standing on a dock and she didn't want to rock it. I'll come by, I said. I'll bring a dish, and just so we're clear, if we go out, I'll cover my check. I'm not hosting. A pause. A breath. You don't have to keep saying it, she said, but not unkindly. I do for me, I said. Her sigh had some relief in it. Okay. Bring that pasta salad Aunt Dee likes. When I walked into her kitchen later, the table was set casual. Paper napkins, a thrift store vase with 3 carnations. Naomi handed me a spoon and nodded toward a mixing bowl. Put it here, she said. No mention of last night at first. Aunt Dee was already holding court at the end, tapping her cane for emphasis, while she told Riley, who'd been invited because Naomi is not a fool, about a new show she'd found with British detectives and gardens. Marley wasn't there yet. When she came in, she kept her eyes on the floor for a beat, then lifted them like she'd practiced that lift in a mirror. Hi, she said. The word didn't come with an apology attached. That was okay. She hugged Naomi, kissed Aunt Dee's cheek, nodded at Riley, and took a seat across from me. Her purse stayed at her feet. We ate. Halfway through, Naomi tried a truce. We're all stressed, she said, scraping the last bit of casserole out of a dish. New jobs, long shifts. Let's not drag it out. I'm not dragging anything, I said, and kept my tone even. I'm just done paying for group things without being asked. If you invite me somewhere, I'll let you know what I can do. If someone asks me to cover, it's going to be a no. Okay, Naomi said, and this time she didn't add a but. Aunt Dee nodded like a judge pounding a gavel. Marley stabbed a tomato on her plate. I covered it, she said. She wasn't looking at me. It's done. Good, I said. Not a victory lap, just acknowledgement. We moved on. Aunt Dee asked Riley to open the pickles. Naomi told a story about a church raffle. When someone said we should all go out next weekend for Aunt Dee's birthday, Yara, on FaceTime, propped against the fruit bowl because of course, sang, Ev will get it, out of habit more than malice. I took a sip of water and shrugged. No, I won't, I said. There was a half second where everyone waited for the room to crack. It didn't. Naomi said, We'll split then. In the same voice she uses to decide between 2 brands of dish soap. Marley nodded. Aunt Dee tapped her cane twice in approval. Conversation picked back up like nothing had happened because, really, nothing had except a pattern breaking. On my way out, Naomi walked me to the door. You know I appreciate you, she said, eyes smaller, voice quieter and truer. I know, I said. Appreciation isn't the same as access to my card. Her mouth pulled into a reluctant smile. Fair enough. Back home, I slid the gift card I'd taken out of Marley's envelope into my wallet behind my license. Not a trophy, just money I didn't spend to make a point no one was earning. I cut myself another sliver of cake and ate it over the sink, then wrapped the rest in foil for the nurse's lounge tomorrow. In the morning, I'd clock in, make beds, pass meds, count breaths. At dinner next week, if someone said, Ev can do it, I'd say, no, and mean it. And the only thing that would break would be the habit of assuming I would say yes.
The spare room in my apartment isn't spare. It smells like my kid's shampoo and grass from her cleats. There's a taped-up poster over the dresser, a string of dim fairy lights she forgets to turn off, a laundry basket with one sock always clinging to the rim. That room is my daughter's, not a guest room, not extra. My name is Iris Daniels. I'm 36, divorced, and I work the front desk at a neighborhood clinic in Chicago. I live in a modest 2-bedroom on the 2nd floor of an old brick walk-up in Albany Park. It's nothing fancy, creaky floors, one stubborn window AC, but it's ours. I share custody of my daughter, Daisy, who's 14 and in high school. We do week on, week off, switching on Sunday evenings. On my weeks, we eat too much pasta, she spreads algebra across the table, and I nag about dishes. On my off weeks, the apartment gets too quiet, and her so-called spare room becomes my buffer against the rest of the world. My mother, Leah, is 61 and treats my place like a spare wing of hers. It's family, she says, which has covered everything from unannounced drop-ins to giving my address to relatives passing through. My dad, Douglas, 63, hates conflict so much he'd rather ruin a couch than say no to her. The last time they stayed a few days, Dad leaned on my wobbly coffee table during a Bears game and the legs snapped. Replacement and disposal cost me $350. They ran the window unit all week with the windows open. Stuffy in here, Mum said, and my power bill jumped $118. Dad said he'd pay me back. He didn't. Mum told me not to be petty. My sister Lauren is 33 and getting married this weekend to Eric, who is 34 and decent in that quiet, watching the door kind of way. The rehearsal dinner is Friday night, the wedding Saturday afternoon in a park if the weather holds. If you know my mother, you can see the shape of it already. A room full of relatives, a glass tapped with a spoon, a big speech about family and starting out right, and a gift that isn't hers to give. She's been hinting for weeks. 6 months, she said to me on the phone, just until they get their feet under them. You have the second bedroom. She means Daisy's room. I told her no. She laughed like I was joking. I'm not joking. I'm also not walking into that restaurant empty-handed. On my kitchen table sits a manila envelope with a metal clasp that bites my fingernail when I slide it shut. Inside is paper that steadies me. The first is an email printed out from Charles Kent, our building manager, 52, buzz cut, no nonsense, confirming my lease addendum. As of next week, an additional occupant is approved, Michaela Delgado, 29, a dental assistant who answered my roommate ad and checked out fine. She's taking the enclosed dining nook off the living room. We hung a curtain and measured out her corner together. Charles's email also confirms lock changes scheduled for Saturday at 9 a.m. His line reads, "New cylinders, new keys, management controlled only. No exceptions." Behind that is a copy of a certified letter I sent to my parents' condo, tracking numbers printed at the bottom, revoking every spare key I ever handed out. The letter gives them 30 days' notice that the spares are cancelled and asks them to return the one they kept for emergencies. The third document is a stamped small claims filing for $468, $350 for the coffee table, $118 for that 1 month's utilities. Their names are printed just like they appeared on the envelopes I mailed last week. My hands shook when I sealed the packet. They do still, a little. I keep telling myself I'm not starting a fight. I'm just not leaving the door open and then acting surprised when strangers walk through. It's my off week with Daisy. She's at her dad's place a few miles away, probably finishing Spanish homework and texting me memes. We FaceTimed last night. She panned her camera to show me the soccer bag I asked her not to leave in the hallway. "I heard Grandma again," she said. "You don't owe them your room." She's a kid, but sometimes she squares her shoulders like a grown-up and I borrow her backbone. I leave the envelope on the counter while I run through my morning. I work 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. I buzz people in, check insurance, keep the waiting room from crawling off the rails. It's the kind of job where the pens disappear and coffee panes go cold while you print intake forms. I like it. It's steady. It depends on me. I stop in Daisy's room before I go, because that's what I do when she's with her dad. Make her bed tighter, pick up the runaway sock, straighten the poster that always tilts left. The room looks back at me like a promise. Her name is on the inside cover of a paperback on the nightstand. Her cleats thud when I nudge the soccer bag under the desk with my foot. On Friday night, I will sit down at a long table and my mother will probably tap a glass. She'll want my key. Instead, she'll get paper, boundaries in black and white, dates and dollar amounts, and a lock change scheduled for the morning. I tuck the envelope into my purse, zip it, and practice the words in my head as I turn the deadbolt behind me. I'm not a spare wing. This is my home. The restaurant has a back room with white linen and a soft hum of air vents, the kind of place where the bread shows up warm and the server remembers who's gluten-free. I check my phone before I walk in. No new texts from Daisy, just a heart from earlier, and slide the manila envelope deeper into my purse until the clasp scratches my knuckles. Lauren looks bright and tired at the same time, bouquet of rehearsal flowers on the table, hair pinned up too tight. Eric stands when I come in and does that quick, awkward half-hug that says he's happy to see me and already bracing. Mum is at the head of the long table, glass of white wine, bracelets clinking when she lifts her hand. Dad is beside her, fiddling with a napkin ring, smiling at nothing in particular. "Iris," Mum sings. "There she is. Sit, sweetheart. We're about to start." I take a seat near the middle, far enough not to be drafted into passing dishes all night, but close enough to hear. Aunties cluster at the far end, perfume and chatter. A big framed photo of Lauren and Eric leans on an easel by the cake. It looks like any rehearsal dinner you've ever seen. We get through salads and toasts. Eric's brother tells a story about losing a ring pop in 2nd grade and calls it practice. People laugh. I can feel Mom vibrating with a speech. She taps her knife on her glass, and the room hushes like it knows its cue. "My wonderful daughter and soon-to-be son," she starts, hand on Lauren's shoulder, "are beginning their life together." She smiles around the table, making eye contact like a politician. "And family takes care of family. I have a gift." Aunties murmur. Someone says, "Oh, like a game show prize is coming out." Mum spreads her fingers in a ta-da. The newlyweds will start in Iris's place. 6 months, no rent, so they can save for something special. The clapping starts at the far end, polite at first, then warmer, because clapping is contagious. My stomach drops so fast I feel the chair under me. Eric looks down at his lap. Lauren pumps out a quick laugh that isn't a laugh. Dad keeps his smile on, like he's hearing a recording. Mum turns to me, palm up. "Hand over the key, sweetheart." "No," I say. The word lands in the space between forks and candlelight. The table seems to shrink. The server in the doorway freezes mid-step, a tray tilted like a seesaw. Mom tilts her head. "Don't be difficult. We talked about this." I said no. My voice doesn't shake. "I'm grateful for that." Lauren hisses, "Stop being selfish," low enough for me to pretend I didn't hear if I wanted to. I don't. Her jaw tightens. She's out of her chair before I register it, and then her hand connects with my cheek so fast it takes a second for the burn to catch up. The room goes quiet. Even the kitchen noise dims in my ears. Somewhere a fork tinks against a plate. And then nothing. I press my palm to my face, not because I want to hide, but because it helps me focus. Eric says, "Lauren," in the tone people use when a dog bolts toward traffic. Mum starts, "Ladies," warning in her voice, but it's pointed at me, not at the daughter who just slapped someone at her own rehearsal dinner. I reach into my purse, set the envelope on the white linen, and slide it toward the center of the table. It makes a soft scrape as it moves past water rings. "Read," I say. No one moves at first. Then Eric reaches for it like it might bite. He flips the clasp and pulls out the top page. I see the header, Charles Kent, building manager, before he lowers it, so Lauren can see. Mum leans in, mouth open, trying to look like she's not craning. "What is this?" she says. And it's not a question as much as a warning again. "Read," I repeat. Dad finally looks up from the napkin ring. His voice is soft. "Let's not make a scene." "We already did," I say. The server clears his throat from the doorway. "Would you like me to hold the entrees?" he asks, to no one in particular. Yes, I say, without looking away from the papers, and he backs out like a cat, leaving a room slowly. Eric's eyes move left to right, his mouth tightens at one line, then another. He lifts the next page, then the next. Lauren's face goes blotchy, anger first, then something like confusion sliding into recognition. Mum's lips press into a line I know well. You can't, Mum starts. I can, I say. And I did. Lauren swallows. You're ruining... I'm protecting my home. I don't raise my voice. I don't need to. The envelope sits there, heavy with dates and signatures. The tablecloth under my hand is the texture of a paper towel. My cheek stings and I can feel the outline of her fingers like heat from a burner. Eric looks at me over the top of the page. We were counting on it, he says quietly. Counting is different from asking, I say. No one claps now. The room hums again, air vents, kitchen plates, a car horn outside. I feel the shape of the key in my purse and I leave it where it is. Eric flips to the second page and reads aloud before he catches himself. Lease addendum. Additional occupant approved. Michaela Delgado. Move-in date next week. He stops and looks at me. I followed the process, I say. Charles signed it. He's CC'd my email and there's a copy with the office. Lauren's eyes skip. Who is Michaela? My roommate, I say. She's taking the nook off the living room. Daisy's room stays Daisy's. Mum barks a short laugh. You took in a stranger before offering your own sister a hand? That's backwards, Iris. She answered an ad and passed a background check, I say, and she's paying rent. Eric slides the next page forward so it's clear on the table. The header is bold. Lock change work order. Saturday 9 a.m., he reads under his breath. The building's changing the cylinders, I say. New keys, control through management only. That was scheduled last week. You're really going to lock us out? Lauren's voice cracks on. Us, like the word is a bridge she expected to walk across. You were never in, I say, and I keep my tone even. Daisy has a bedroom. I pay rent. This isn't a spare wing. Dad finally leans in, squinting. He pinches the corner of the next sheet like it might rip. Certified letter, he reads, then clears his throat. Revoking spare keys. That went out to your condo on Monday, I say. There's tracking on the bottom. Mom plucks the page from his fingers. You sent us a legal notice. Her voice is airy, but there's nothing light in it. I gave 30 days, I say, and I asked for the emergency key back. You can drop it with Charles if you don't want to see me. Lauren's fingers twist in her napkin. The last page is slightly heavier stock because that's how the clerk stamped it. Eric recognizes it from a past life, maybe. Small claims, he says. $468. $350 for the table, I say. $118 for that power bill. I itemized. The dates are on there. Mum puts the papers down like they smell. Family doesn't sue family. Family pays when they break things, I say, or at least calls before giving away a bedroom that isn't theirs. Dad's voice is small. I meant to pay you, Irie. I did. I nod once. Then it'll be quick. Lauren's eyes are wet, but her chin is up. You're ruining my wedding. I didn't slap anyone, I say. It comes out flatter than I meant, but I'm not going to cushion it for her. My cheek still burns. I told you no weeks ago, Eric rubs his forehead. We were counting on it, he says again softer. We signed the motel for 2 nights to get through the weekend. After that, counting is different from asking, I say, repeating myself because it seems like no one heard it the first time. Asking would have given me room to say no without this scene. Mum's bracelets clink. You're embarrassing yourself, at a family event. I look at the white linen, the neat folds of napkins, the way the centerpiece candle has started to tunnel. I brought copies, I say. I reach into my purse and set a second, thinner packet on the table. You can keep these. The originals stay with me. The server appears in the doorway again, hovering. Entrees? Bring them, Mom says through her teeth, like she can will normalcy back with steak and asparagus. Hold mine, I say. And he nods and retreats, relief in his shoulders. An aunt clears her throat way down the table, stands and murmurs something about needing the powder room. Two cousins follow. Nobody quite meets my eye. Lauren's hands flutter toward the papers and back to her lap. Can we talk after? Just us? This is the talk, I say. By 10 tomorrow, the keys you have won't work. If you show up at my door, Charles will ask you to leave. If you call the clinic, my supervisor will route you to email. Mom snorts. Threats. Boundaries, I say. Dad looks older than he did 10 minutes ago. We'll figure something out, he says to no one in particular. You will, I say. There are a lot of apartments in this city. I slide my chair back. The legs scrape against the carpet, a small sound that feels loud. I take the heavier packet, the one they've smudged, and slip it back into my bag. Eric glances up. Iris, wait! I stand anyway. I take my wallet out and tuck cash under my bread plate. Habit. I stack my water glass on its coaster so the ring won't stain. The locks change in the morning, I say to the middle of the table more than to any one person. If you need to reach me, email me. Mom opens her mouth to say something sharp. I don't give her the space. I lay my copy, the keep packet, by her hand, where she can't ignore it, and leave the tip where the server will see it. Then I turn and walk out, the air of the main dining room cooler on my face than the back room had any right to be. Outside, a bus sighs at the curb. I check my phone and see Daisy's heart from earlier, still on the screen, and I breathe like the door I'm closing actually clicks into place. Saturday morning, my cheek is tender where Lauren's hand landed. I make coffee and wait for 9 like it's an appointment with a dentist. At 8:58, the buzzer sounds. I press the door and hear boot steps on the stairs. Charles shows up with a tool bag and a clipboard. Morning, he says. You ready? Very, I say, and step back so he can get to the deadbolt. He works like he always does, efficient, a little humming under his breath. He unscrews the faceplate, slides the old cylinder into a plastic bag, and drops it in his case. He lines up the new one, tightens it until it sits square, then tests the throw. Click, click, clean. Front door's changed, he says. I'll swap the back door and the mailbox lock next. He pulls a small envelope from the clipboard and taps it. 2 keys for the unit, 1 for the mailbox, no copies. If you need extras, you come through me. I won't, I say. I mean, I'll come through you if I need them. My mouth is dry. He hands me the envelope and I sign his log. New signature, new date. It feels like putting a period at the end of a sentence that's run on too long. He holds up the old keys I'd set on the counter. One has a purple rubber cover from the hardware store. These the ones you had out? Yeah, I found them in my junk drawer when I cleaned last week. The rest are in circulation, he nods. I'll put these in the office file. He slides them into a zip bag. And I've deactivated any old fobs tied to your unit. If anyone tries the front gate, it won't buzz them through. Thank you, I say. It feels inadequate. He shrugs like it's just a line item on his list. When he's finished with the back door and the mailbox, he stands in the hall and goes over the bullet points. If anyone claims they have permission to enter or stay, they don't. You can refer them to me. If they make a scene, call me or 3111 if it escalates. Building policy is posted downstairs. Got it, I say. I'll stick to email for anything formal. Good, he says. I'll email you a confirmation that the change is complete. He tucks his pencil behind his ear. You doing okay? I will be, I say. He nods once and heads down, boots making that hollow stairwell sound I know by heart. I pack a padded mailer at the kitchen table with a printed note. Please place the emergency key in this envelope and return by mail. Return address and postage are prepaid. I add a second envelope addressed to Charles in case they'd rather drop it at the office. I take both to the post office and send the first one certified. I keep the receipt with the tracking number behind a magnet on my fridge. Paper to back up more paper. Back home, I sit on the stoop with a thermos. The neighbourhood is quiet in that Saturday way. Dog walkers, someone hauling laundry, a bike clacking its chain. The guilt hits hard around noon, like a brick in my gut. I let it sit. I think about the coffee table that snapped, the AC running with the windows open, Daisy's cleats under her desk. I breathe until my chest loosens. My phone buzzes. Daisy. A heart, then. Proud of you. The words are simple, but they slot something back in place. I text her a picture of the new keys in my palm. She sends back a key emoji and a soccer ball. I go through my contacts and block Mom's number, then Dad's, then Lauren's. I set Do Not Disturb to allow calls from Daisy and work only. Everything else can find me by email. I start a new folder in my inbox named Family and drag the email thread from Charles into it. At 1:30, someone bangs on my door so hard the peephole rattles. "Iris!" Mum's voice bright like a stage light. "Open up!" I don't move. I text Charles, "She's here," loud in the hall. His reply is quick. "On my way." Mom bangs again. "You're being ridiculous. We need to talk. Douglas is circling for a spot." I stand in the kitchen and sip water. The knock comes a third time. I can hear the elevator gate open, then Charles's voice from the hall, calm the way he always is. "Ms. Daniels," he says, "I'm going to ask you to leave." "I'm her mother," Mum says, like that's a keycard. "This is a private residence," he says. "You were notified that your access is revoked. If you need to communicate, use email. You're disturbing other tenants." "I'll only be a minute," she says. I can picture her hand on her hip, bracelets chiming. "No," he says. "You'll leave now?" His tone doesn't sharpen. It just settles heavy. There's a pause, shoes shift. Then her footsteps retreat down the hall. The elevator gate rattles. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. My phone buzzes with an unknown number a little before 3. "We can't check in until 4. Where are we supposed to sleep tonight?" I stare at the message until the screen dims and then goes black. I don't respond. I take a screenshot and email it to myself, put it in the same folder as the others. Silence can be a sentence when you've already said everything you need to. I make pasta because it's what I do when I don't know what else to do. I eat at the counter, the apartment quiet enough that the fork sounds loud against the bowl. At 4, the radiators click and the light comes in soft. I lock the new lock and turn the knob to check it out of habit. It holds. I hold too. Sunday morning, I wake to the line of light under the blinds and the ache blooming along my cheekbone. I make coffee, open my laptop and see the email from Charles, time-stamped yesterday afternoon. Lock change complete, 2 keys issued, mailbox cylinder replaced. I move it into the family folder and take a picture of the new keys on the table, more for myself than anyone. At 9:12 my phone rings. Unknown number. I let it buzz once, twice, then swipe answer. "Hello? Iris?" Lauren's voice sounds like she's been crying and trying not to. "It's me. I'm calling from the motel phone. Please don't hang up." "I'm here," I say. I sit at the table and trace the ring a mug left last week. "What do you need?" A soft shuffle, then Eric on the line too, closer than I expected. We need to talk," he says. "Not at the restaurant, not like that." "Okay," I say, "talk." Lauren takes a breath that feels like it hurts on the way in. "We can't stay here after today. We thought we could go to your place tonight and just..." She stops, swallows. "Please." I'm not gloating, I say, but I'm not free housing. We're not doing this by pleading and just for a little while. If you want my help, here are the terms. Silence then. Okay, from Eric, cautious. First, I say, repayment, $468, the amounts you saw. Second, a written apology from you, Lauren, for the slap and the ambush, not a text. An actual letter that says what you did and that it won't happen again. Third, no more keys in circulation, ever. No copies, no emergency spares, no, I was in the neighbourhood. You communicate by email if you need me about this stuff. You don't show up at my door, Lauren whispers. A letter? Yes, I say. Words on paper. You let Mom run you over, and you ran me over too. Putting it in writing holds you to it. Eric tries to step in. What if we give you the money and I apologise to you right now? I'm sorry, Iris, for my part. I should have shut it down. I should have told your mum it wasn't okay to speak for us. I appreciate that, I say, and I do. But promises didn't fix my coffee table. Words at a motel phone don't hold a boundary. I need it written down. Lauren's breath goes uneven again. You're making this transactional. I'm making it clear, I say. Clarity is the only thing that works with our family. On the other end, a dull thump, like someone sitting on a bed. Eric says, what about timing? You have until next Saturday to get me the repayment, I say. You can mail it, or we can meet at my credit union with a cashier's cheque. The apology comes with it. Email me for the meeting time so there's a record. I don't have your email, Lauren says small. Yes, you do, I say. It's the one I've used to send you birthday photos of Daisy. I'll send you a note as soon as we hang up with the terms so you can reply there. What about today? Lauren says. Tonight. I put together a list of apartment listings near bus lines and a basic budget template, I say. Studios and basement units. You can call today and get on a showing tomorrow. If you need, I can look at a lease with you before you sign, but I'm not opening my door. Not now. There's a pause long enough that I can hear the motel AC hum through the receiver. I need to talk to Eric, she says, voice steadier. Give me a day. You have it, I say. Email me. We sit in the quiet of the call for another beat. Eric clears his throat. Thank you for picking up, he says. I won't always, I say. Email is how we do this from here. We hang up. I type while the coffee is still warm. Terms, amounts, the no keys clause in one clean paragraph. I attach a PDF of the small claims docket entry and add my mailing address beneath our building manager's office address as an alternate drop. I include the apartment listings and the budget template I built last night in a spreadsheet with categories: rent, utilities, transit, groceries, minimum debt payments. I hit send and move the carbon copy into the family folder. At 11:03, an email lands from Mum. Subject: Family. Paragraphs about sacrifice and how she left her parents' house with nothing, and we all lived with Aunt Nina once upon a time, and you will understand when Daisy is older. In the middle, I cannot believe you think a court will help you against your own mother. I reply with one line and an image, the docket screenshot with the case number and the court address highlighted. Under it, I type, mailing address for repayment is below. No further discussion needed. I paste my address and Charles's office suite again. 5 minutes later, another unknown number calls. I let it roll to voicemail. I listen once it hits the icon. Dad's voice, soft. We'll get you the money, kiddo. Your mother's upset. We'll figure it out. He doesn't leave a callback number. I save the audio to my folder. The day stays quiet after that. I print a copy of the budget template and leave it on the counter for myself, just to see the columns filled with my own numbers. At 2, I take a walk along the river path, the air heavy and green. Back upstairs, I wipe down the table, the new one I bought used, solid wood, no wobble, and picture a curtain rod drilled into the wall where Michaela's nook will be. The place holds steady, the line holds too. By Monday morning, the story has already made it to the family thread. I glance at my phone before the clinic opens and see a stack of unread messages under the subject weekend. The preview lines say, "Enough, can't believe you kicked out the bride, Iris." Then my cousin Tasha, "She didn't kick anyone out, it's her apartment." Someone else adds a string of facepalm emojis. I mute the conversation and turn on the waiting room TV to the usual morning show with captions. At 10:07, an email from Charles lands. Access control audit complete for Unit 2B. All prior key fobs and intercom privileges revoked as of 9. Only 2 active keys associated with your unit. No copies permitted. Policy reminder attached. I move it into the family folder and reply with a simple "Thank you." Around lunch, my supervisor taps my desk and holds out a pink message slip like we're in a movie. "Someone named Leah called 3 times, she says. "I forwarded the voicemail to HR, like you asked. You okay?" "I am," I say. "Thanks for catching it." After she walks away, I put my earbuds in and listen. Mom's voice is syrupy and sharp at the same time. "This is Leah, Iris's mother. Please tell her this tantrum is unacceptable and she is embarrassing herself. We will be stopping by the office if she will not pick up." I forward it to myself, save it in the folder, then send HR a short email. "Family matter. Please route any calls from my mother to email." They write back, "Will do." The week moves in a line. I work 8 to 4:30, then home to a quiet apartment. Daisy sends a photo of her friend's cat with a crooked bow tie and a "How's the cheek?" I tilt the camera and show her the fading pink. She makes an exaggerated frown and tells me to put cold spoons on it. We hang up before she gives me the play-by-play of a show I'll pretend to watch later. Wednesday, Michaela arrives with 2 suitcases and a plant she calls aspirational. She's smaller than I remember, tired in the way everyone in this city is by midweek. She sets the plant on the kitchen counter and fans out a neat stack of pay stubs and a copy of her ID like we're at the DMV. "Just in case you wanted to see them again," she says. "I also brought first month and half the utilities from the move-in date." She holds up an envelope. Cashier's check, my name spelled right, the bank stamp raised under my thumb. "We're good," I say, and mean it. We sit at the kitchen table and sign the roommate agreement I typed up last night. House rules in short lines, quiet hours after 10, text before guests come over, no candles in the nook, rent due on the 1st via transfer, utilities split by the bill. She scans each line, asks one question about trash day, and signs with a careful loop on the D in her last name. "I made a copy for you," I say, sliding a second set across. She grins. "Thank you, this feels adult." We carry her suitcases to the dining nook. The curtain we hung last week falls to the floor and makes a clean border. She unzips a suitcase and pulls out a rolled-up rug, a small lamp, and a framed photo of 3 women in scrubs making faces at a selfie. She positions the plant in the window, plugs in the lamp, and the corner becomes hers, right in front of me. In the bathroom, she sets her toothbrush in the holder next to mine. It's such a small motion that I almost miss how my shoulders drop. Holmes settles an inch deeper. In the afternoon, Charles emails again, confirming that Ms. Delgado is registered on the lease addendum as of today. Her name will be on the intercom by Friday. No additional keys issued without written request. I reply with a thanks and CC Michaela, so she has the paper trail. She thumbs up, reacts like it's a text. That night I heat leftover pasta and we eat at the counter. Michaela tells me about a patient who brought in a Ziploc full of unidentifiable dental parts from a junk drawer and asked if they could reuse them. I laugh in a way I haven't laughed in days. When the dishes are washed, she wipes the counter in a figure 8 and says, "We'll figure out a cleaning schedule. I'm flexible." "Me too," I say, "except about one thing." I tip my head toward the closed door of Daisy's room. "That stays Daisy's. On my off weeks it's shut." "Obviously," she says. "I read your ad. I apply for apartments. I don't apply for other people's bedrooms." We both smile, and it feels like a hinge, moving smoothly. Thursday morning, my phone pings with a text from Lauren. "We have the money. Can we meet?" I stare at it for a full minute. Then I type, "Credit Union on Lawrence, Saturday noon." Cashier's check and the apology in writing. The dots appear, stop, appear again. "Okay," she finally sends. I add, "Bring an ID so they don't give you trouble at the desk." She replies, "Okay." Then after a beat, "I'll write it." I put my phone face down and look around the room. The curtain is closed over Michaela's nook, the plant leaf tilted toward the window. The apartment feels like a place with edges. Later, another blast on the family thread. An aunt declaring that, in our day, the door was always open. Tasha counters, "Doors lock because we value our stuff and our peace." I don't jump in. I take a picture of the roommate agreement on the table and file the original in the drawer with my lease. When I turn out the light, the hall glows with the soft spill from Michaela's lamp, and for the first time in a long time, I sleep without bracing for keys in my lock. I get to the credit union 10 minutes early and sit in one of the vinyl chairs by the window. The branch is quiet, 2 tellers, a potted plant that's more dust than green, a sign about mobile deposits taped at an angle. I hold my number slip even though the platform desk is empty, and we're just meeting at the table near the brochures. Lauren and Eric come in right at noon. They both look older than last weekend, tan lines where the dress and the tux hit, motel sleep written under their eyes. Lauren clutches a manila folder. Eric gives a small nod like he's not sure if he's allowed to do more. "Hi," I say. "Hi," Lauren says back. She sits and sets the folder on the table. "We have it." She slides out a cashier's check and pushes it across. It's drawn on this credit union, my name spelled right. The numbers printed crisp, 468 Gonzales. The teller stamp on the top corner is raised under my finger. "Thank you," I say. I look at Eric. He looks at the floor, then up at me. "There's more," Lauren says. She pulls out 2 sheets of lined paper. The pages are written in blue pen, messy in places where she pressed too hard. She lays them flat and nudges them my way. "I wrote it," I read. She starts with what she did. "I slapped you." She writes the word out, not softening it. She says she let Mom speak for her and for Eric because it was easier in the moment and because being the good daughter has always felt safer than being the firm one. She writes that she knew I'd told Mom no, and she let herself pretend that meant maybe. She describes the drop in her stomach when she said selfish, and how she saw herself from the outside and didn't stop anyway. She writes about the look on the server's face. She writes that she is embarrassed by what she did and that she's sorry and that it won't be repeated. She writes one line about Daisy's room being Daisy's, period. No requests, no hints, no keys. She signs her name at the bottom of page 2. The room is quiet. I can hear the printer at the teller station warming up and the hum of the fridge behind the counter. I set the letter down and tap the corner to square it. "Thank you for writing it," I say. Lauren nods once, quick. Eric clears his throat. I should have stopped it. I didn't. I'm sorry for that." I meet his eyes. "Thank you." He gestures toward the check. "Do you want to deposit that now? We can wait." "Yes," I say. We walk to the counter together. I slide the check under the glass, show my ID and ask the teller to deposit it. She taps her keyboard, feeds the check through the machine, and hands me a receipt. Funds availability prints at the bottom. Available next business day. That's fine. I fold the receipt and put it in my wallet. Back at the table, Lauren is looking at her hands. Mom's gonna be... Mom, she says, a humorless smile that's really just a shape. She got the filing, I say. She can mail me the money order or drop it at the manager's office. If she wants to avoid court, she knows how. Lauren winces. She's going to tell everyone you're taking her to court. She's been telling everyone other things all week, I say. The docket doesn't care about group chats. Eric exhales like he's been holding it since he walked in. What happens now? Now, I say, and I lay it out like I practice it in my head. Simple. I accept the apology and the money. We communicate by email about anything logistical. No surprise visits, no keys ever. If you want to see me, we can plan it. Coffee in 2 weeks, neutral spot. We talk about work, about Daisy's games, about your apartment search if you want. We don't talk about my spare room, Lauren nods. 2 weeks is good. She looks up at me. We found a couple of basement places, one on Kedzie, one farther west. We're going to look this afternoon. Good, I say. If you want eyes on a lease, send it over. Eric glances at Lauren, then back at me. Thank you for answering our calls, and for not blowing up the thread. Boundaries aren't punishment, I say. They're how I can show up without lying. He sits with that for a second. Okay, I tuck the apology letter into my bag with my deposit receipt. The paper feels heavier than it is. Not a weight, more like ballast. Lauren touches the folder, then pulls her hand back. I'm sorry, she says again, this time without reading. For all of it. I know, I say. I accept it. We stand. No hugs. Eric nods. Lauren half raises her hand like she's going to reach for me and then thinks better of it. We walk out together into the brightness on Lawrence. Buses hiss. Somebody jaywalks with a dog that looks exactly like a mop. We'll email you, Eric says. I'll read it, I say. I watch them head east toward the bus stop. Side by side, heads bent toward each other. I feel the space between us in a way that doesn't ache, and I turn west toward my block, my credit union receipt warm in my pocket, my bag heavy with an apology in blue pen. We're good at this distance, I think, and for once the thought isn't bitter. It's just true. Monday, my banking app pings before I've finished my first cup. Transfer received from Monsieur Delgado. The number isn't huge, but it hits like a deep breath. I screenshot the confirmation and file it with the roommate agreement, then send Michaela a quick thumbs up. She's already left for the clinic, her plant tilting toward the window like it's learning us. Daisy FaceTimes after school. Guess what? She says, already grinning. I wrote my English essay on boundaries and got an A. She flips the camera to a rubric with check marks and a teacher comment. Clear, specific, honest. I clap because it's what she needs through a screen. What did you say? I ask. That it's not selfish to lock your door, she says, and that grown-ups can act like kids and kids can act like grown-ups, and that's why rules help. She winks. I didn't use names. Proud of you, I say. She beams and tells me about practice and a girl who tried to head a ball with her eyes closed. We hang up on a joke about helmets. Wednesday, the mail carrier buzzes with a certified letter. I sign in the lobby and carry it upstairs like it might spill. Inside, a money order for $468 and a short note on printer paper. To avoid court. Leah and Douglas. No apology, no explanation. Just the amount, crisp and impersonal. I set it on the table and look at the receipt from Saturday tucked in my wallet. Lauren's check deposited, funds cleared this morning. I take a picture of the money order for my records, then draft 2 emails. The first goes to Mom and Dad. Received your money order today. The balance was paid in full on date by Lauren and Eric. I will endorse and forward this to them. Upon pickup, I will file a dismissal with the court. and mark the matter satisfied. Future communication by email only. The second goes to Lauren and Eric with the subject pickup. I attach the photo and write, "Your parents sent the amount. I can meet at the credit union tomorrow at noon and endorse it to you, or you can pick it up at my building office with Charles." Paper trail stays clean either way. Lauren replies 10 minutes later, "Credit union." "Thank you. Thursday. We make it quick." I sign the back in front of the teller and slide it to Lauren. She and Eric both say thank you in that quiet way, eyes steady. The teller stamps a receipt for them. I walk out with a dismissal form in my bag and drop it at the courthouse on my lunch break. Case status shows dismissed satisfied by the time I click refresh after dinner. 2 Fridays later, I meet Lauren at a coffee shop on Montrose. Neutral ground, bright windows, a reading chair no one ever actually reads in, a chalkboard sign with a bad pun about beans. She orders tea, I get a coffee, and we sit at a small round table with a wobble I can't not notice. "We signed a lease," she says after a minute. "Basement studio on Kedzie. It's not glamorous, but it's ours." She smiles, a real one this time. Low ceilings, huge closet. Eric's already measured where the futon goes. "Good," I say. "How are you handling shifts?" "I picked up Saturday mornings," she says. "He's still nights this week." She looks at the window. "Mom is... Mom." "She can be Mom without a key," I say. Lauren nods. She touches the lid of her tea, then lets it go. "How's your cheek?" Faded," I say. We let that hang. "Daisy's got a game next week. You're welcome if you want to come. Text me first so I can tell you what field." She nods again, quick. "I'll text." We talk about prices at the laundromat on their corner and which bus stops smell least like old fries. We do not talk about keys. When we stand, she doesn't reach for me. She puts her cup in the bin and says, "Thanks for meeting." "Thanks for writing," I say, and mean both the letter and this life. At home, Michaela is leaning over a bowl of something that smells like lime and garlic. "Take some," she says, shoving a spoon at me. "I made too much." "That's not a thing," I say, and steal a bite. We eat standing at the counter and agree on a game plan for this weekend's deep clean. "I'll do the bathroom," she says. "You love a list." "I do love a list," I say. We laugh. It feels easy. Later, Daisy sprawls on her bed. Her bed. One sock on, one off, her essay face down on the quilt. She tells me a story about a classmate who kept calling their teacher Mom by accident and how the whole room dissolved. I sit on the edge of her mattress and pick up the sock and flick it at her. She pretends to be scandalized, then grins and hooks it with her toe. A new envelope from the building office is tucked under my door when I take out the trash. Intercom label updated, key control list attached. Charles's email chimes in right after, "Case dismissed noted, file updated." He doesn't write more than that. He doesn't need to. I wash the dinner bowls and wipe the counter. A faint ring of crumbs circles the spot where a plate sat. I run the cloth around and around until it's smooth. I check the front deadbolt out of habit, twist the knob on the back door. Both hold. I turn off the hall light. The glow from Michaela's lamp spills under the curtain across the floor. Daisy coughs once and turns over. Upstairs, someone drags a chair. A dog barks twice. The apartment settles around us, not bigger or smaller, just right. It holds only what belongs here. I like the way that sounds in my head, simple, like a rule you can live by.
I keep my mum's lights on from my desk at the registrar's office. My name is Zariah Hayes. I'm 39, single, and I live 12 minutes from my mum, Virginia, in a 1-bedroom apartment with a view of a parking lot. Mum just turned 70 on Thursday. She's proud, stubborn about her independence, and her knees hate the steep basement stairs in her little bungalow. I'm an administrative assistant at the community college on Pine. My day is calls and forms and people who need a clear answer. Between 12:15 and 12:45 most days, I become the person who keeps things running for Mum. This week, I took my lunch break on Tuesday, drove the 12 minutes and swapped her pill organiser because the pharmacy put the amlodipine in a different bottle and she didn't like the new label. I wiped the counter crumbs, put the Tuesday night dinner leftovers in smaller containers and left a fresh gallon of milk from my trunk. I keep detergent back there too, Tide Pods and bleach, because if I bring it up in one trip, I can carry the laundry basket down instead of her. 20 steps down, 20 back up. My arms know the count. We got into a system. I set up autopay for Mum's basic stuff because the online thing makes her anxious. City utilities and gas on my card, confirmation emails to me, her rent still by cheque like always because she trusts the envelope. The receipts have been stacking in my kitchen drawer since January, curled and rubber banded, out of sight until I needed to show them. In March, when my Civic sat in the shop for 4 days waiting on a fuel pump, I Ubered her to a clinic appointment and back. I bought groceries 3 times when her cheque dipped because property taxes came due and stretched everything thin. None of it felt heroic. It felt like the thing you do when you're the one closest. Closest has a way of turning into default without anyone saying it out loud. Krista is my sister. She's 36, a 3rd grade teacher, and has 2 kids who are always either in soccer or a science fair. She lives 30 minutes away in a subdivision with cul-de-sacs and a community pool. She's excellent at planning and excellent at assigning. Her messages in the family chat are bright and breezy. Got it! We'll figure it out. And then silence. Gregory is 42, our brother, a mechanic at Dorsey's Auto. He's practical, hands good at replacing a timing belt, and allergic to conflict. Ask him to fix a hinge, he's there. Ask him to referee, he evaporates. Mum's neighbour Quinn is retired, mail carrier for almost 40 years, the kind who still notices when a porch light burns out. He has my number because he insisted on it. You'd want someone to tell you, he said, handing me a misdelivered catalogue and a look that said he would. Cousin Natalia planned Mum's party for Saturday, today, at her place. 3 p.m. arrival, cake at 4:30, she texted in the group chat, followed by a photo of a sheet cake order form with Virginia at 70, penciled in looping script. Natalia is the kind of cousin who makes sign-up sheets for potlucks and still asks if you want to change your mind about your dish. I told her I'd bring fruit salad and crusty bread. Krista replied with a string of camera emojis because she made a slideshow. Gregory sent a thumbs up and a "I'll be there after work." Mum called me to say she didn't need a fuss. 70 is just a number, she said, then paused. Do you think everyone will like lemon icing? I said yes, of course. Last night, after I cleaned my sink, I pulled the rubber band off the receipts and printed the ones I didn't have. 6 months of utilities, co-pays, groceries, 2 ride shares. I slid them into a manila envelope and wrote Mom on the tab. I don't like confrontation. I like lists and exact change. But the drawer of receipts felt like a secret I was keeping from everyone, including myself. If I was going to keep being the helper, I wanted us all to see the shape of it. If I wasn't, I wanted to say it while there was cake, and witnesses, and people who loved Mom enough to show up. This morning, I ironed a sundress I only wear to baptisms and birthdays, blue with white flowers. I set the envelope in my purse, next to my keys, and a travel-sized bottle of lotion. I grabbed the fruit salad, watermelon, strawberries, blueberries, juice pooling at the bottom, and the bread. On my kitchen table, my phone lit up with Natalia's reminder, "Parking is tight, street only, see you soon." And Krista's selfie of balloons in her back seat. Greg sent, "On my way." On the drive over, the AC in my Civic wheezed like it needed its own appointment. I counted the lights out of habit. 3 to get off Pine, 2 more past the library, 4 to Natalia's neighbourhood. Mum called as I turned onto her block. "Do I need to bring anything?" she asked, which is her way of asking if she's allowed to just be celebrated. "Just your pretty self," I said, which made her snort. I parked half a block down under a maple that still had last year's samaras stuck in its bark. I balanced the bowl and the bread on my hip, felt the envelope bump against my rib cage in my purse, and walked up the lawn toward the porch where Natalia had taped a homemade sign with arrows and balloons. At the doorway, the sound of voices, and one off-key laugh spilled out, and there was Krista already in the entryway, shoulder to the banister, holding court like a hostess, like a fixer, smiling like she'd solved us. Natalia's foyer smelled like lemon cleaner and buttercream. I shifted the fruit bowl on my hip and stepped in. "You made it!" Natalia took the bread out of my other hand and kissed the air near my cheek. Kitchen straight back. Mum's in the living room with the photo board. Cake at 4:30. I'm running a little behind on the candles. Krista's voice floated from the staircase. "I have the slideshow queued. Don't let anyone slice before the song, okay?" She grinned at me like we were partners in a surprise. "Hi, Z." "Hey." I towed off my flats on the mat and found Mum by the couch, standing next to a poster board full of pictures. Mum touched the corner of a black and white one like it might slip. In it she was 20, hair like a storm cloud, next to my dad, and a car that no longer exists. "You look good," I said, and meant it. She wore the blue sweater I'd brought by last month, and the pearl earrings she saves for everything important. "I feel bossed," she said, smiling at the board. "Natalia wouldn't let me bring deviled eggs." "Host's orders," Natalia called from the kitchen. Gregory slid in 20 minutes later, smelling faintly like oil and late afternoon. "Hey, Ma," he said, hugging her, then me, then reaching for a chip. He wore his shop shirt with Greg stitched in red above the pocket. "Traffic was a mess on 19. "That's because they're patching that pothole finally," I said. "About time," he said, already drifting toward the kitchen. Natalia did what Natalia does. Circulated, nudged people to sit, adjusted the thermostat, turned down the lights a notch. She pointed at the dining table. "Food's there. Drink's there. Basil plant is mine. Please don't water it with punch." The cake sat in the centre like a centrepiece, white frosting edged with piped shells. "Virginia at 70, looped in green. 10 tall candles in a pack on the counter waited for someone's hands. At 4:30 on the dot, Natalia tapped the light switch with her elbow and dimmed the dining room. "Okay, family," she said, adding that stage manager clap she uses to get our attention. "Let's get Mom in here." We shuffled, plates and phones in hand, people calling for kids to quiet down. Mom stood at the head of the table, eyes shining in the candlelight even before the candles were lit. Krista cleared her throat and tapped a butter knife to a water glass. The sound pinged over the room. "Quick thing before we do the song," she said, bright, a little breathless from all eyes landing on her. "I just wanted to share some good news so everyone's on the same page moving forward." She looked at me like she was handing me a bouquet. "Zariah's moving in with Mom to help with care, since she's closest and, free, so we're covered." It took half a beat for the words to land. Then heads nodded, like someone had announced a weather forecast. Aunt Deidre actually clapped once. "That makes sense," someone said near the punch. "Bless you, baby," someone else murmured. My cheeks went hot, ears too. Free. The word buzzed in my head like a gnat. I set my plate down and reached into my purse. The manila envelope was cool and thick under my fingers. I walked to the sideboard where Natalia had set up the clear punch bowl, ladle floating, orange slices spinning. I set the envelope beside it, between the napkins and the stack of small plates. "Before we plan my life," I said, louder than felt polite, but not a yell, "we should look at what the last 6 months have looked like." The room did that ripple thing. Some people leaned in, a few looked at Krista, a few at me. Krista's smile froze a half-inch from real. "Z," she said, voice still sugar. "We can talk later." "We can," I said, "but I'd like to do this now, since everyone's here." Mum looked small for a second, mouth quirking like a line got crossed. "Honey," she said, not sure if she was warning me or asking me to explain. "It's just receipts," I said to her softer. "Utilities, groceries, co-pays, I've been keeping track." I picked up the envelope and slid my finger under the flap. It made a clean sound, paper against paper. Gregory shifted his weight, eyes on the tablecloth pattern. Natalia hovered near the cake with the lighter but didn't flick it yet. Let's hear her out, she said, steady. Krista stepped closer, palm up as if to calm the air. Zariah, this isn't necessary. We all pitch in. She nodded toward the slideshow paused on the TV. Teenage Krista, with braces frozen mid-laugh. It's Mum's day. That's why I brought it, I said. It's for Mum. I tilted the envelope toward the table and slid out the top receipt. The thermal paper curled, the ink a little faded at the edges. It was the water bill from April, the one with the late fee we avoided because I paid it on my lunch break. All eyes went to the envelope, then the strip of paper in my hand, then back to my face. The candles on the counter still waited, wicks clean and white. The ladle knocked the side of the punch bowl with a small hollow sound. I flattened the water bill against the tablecloth so the corner wouldn't curl back up. This is April, I said. I paid it on my lunch break so we didn't get the late fee. March looks the same. I slid it aside and pulled out a pharmacy printout, then a grocery receipt with a smear of something red on the edge from when the strawberries leaked. These are meds. Groceries the weeks her cheque ran short after property taxes. Utilities. 2 ride shares when my car was at Dorsey's waiting on a fuel pump. A murmur rolled around the table like someone had turned a fan on low. Natalia edged closer with a legal pad she must have fished from a drawer. She didn't write yet. She just held the pen. Krista laughed, light and sharp. Z! We all do this stuff. You're being dramatic. She gestured toward Mom with her chin. She's our mother. You're closest. You're free. The word made my shoulders creep up. I took my phone from my purse, opened the calculator and started tapping. I didn't go line by line in front of everyone. No one needed to know the exact price of her amlodipine or the brand of detergent I buy. I just added each subtotal I'd highlighted last night. I turned the phone so the screen faced the room. $3,247.18. That's the last 6 months, out of my pocket. Gregory stopped leaning, stood up straighter. He wasn't looking at me. He was counting in his head, eyes going to some middle distance they use when they're working out a job estimate. That all tracks, he said quietly, almost to himself. Mum's hand went to her sweater like she was smoothing lint. I didn't know it was that much, she said, voice small. She looked guilty and mad at the same time, guilty I'd paid it, mad at the world it needed to be paid. It adds up, I said, softer to her. It's also time. Appointments. Stairs. I didn't say laundry baskets or pill bottles or the way I planned my lunch break around pharmacy windows. I didn't want to make her feel like a burden. I wanted the room to see a weight without me putting it on her shoulders. Krista folded her arms. We can settle up later. Today's not the day for invoices. It's not invoices, I said. It's a plan. Natalia finally clicked her pen. Okay, she said, calm, like she was getting a field trip in order. What do you need, Zariah? Specifics, I breathed out. 2 things. 1, reimburse fairly. We split this between the 3 of us who are able, me, Krista and Gregory, so I'm not carrying it alone. 2, we set a rotation. Weeks. Someone is on for meds, groceries, rides and check-ins. That person puts their name on the calendar. If no one takes a week, it stays blank and we figure it out together, not by default to me. The words felt tidy coming out. I kept my voice level. Gregory nodded once, still thinking. Weeks make sense, he said. My schedule's easier to juggle if I know it's coming. Krista's mouth made a perfect O of disbelief. A rotation? We're not a nursing home. And why are we talking about money like you're a service? You live 12 minutes away, Z. It's easiest. Easiest for who? I asked. For Mom, she snapped, then pasted the smile back on. This is unnecessary. I reached into my purse and slid my keys off the ring. The small brass one for Mum's back door was a little worn smooth. I put it on the table by the punch bowl, next to the envelope. This sits here until we agree like adults, I said. If we can't, I step back by Monday. I cancel the auto pays. I don't fill in blank weeks alone. We figure it out as a family, or we don't, but I'm done being the default. A hush dropped over the room that made the refrigerator hum in Natalia's kitchen suddenly very loud. Someone's kid whispered, and then a shush. Mum's eyes flicked to the key. Don't be dramatic, she said, but it wasn't unkind. It was tired. I'm not trying to embarrass you, I said to her. I should have said something earlier. That's on me. Krista took a step forward, palms out. You wouldn't, she said, smile gone now, every syllable clipped. I kept my hands flat on the table edge so they wouldn't shake. Watch me. Gregory cleared his throat. What if we... He stopped when Krista shot him a look. He put his hands in his pockets instead. Natalia's eyes cut to the unlit candles, then back to us. She slid the legal pad onto the table, drew 3 columns. Names, she said quietly. Weeks. She didn't assign. She just left the pen there like a dare. No one picked it up. Mum reached for the envelope and touched it like you might touch something that might bite. Let's do the song, she said into the quiet, voice steadying. Then we can talk. She lifted her chin, that old pride slipping back into place like a coat. Natalia struck the lighter. The candles flared and settled. We sang a little off-key. Mum closed her eyes and blew them out in one breath, the smoke curling up as if the room needed a signal the moment was over. But the key stayed on the table, catching the light from the kitchen window, and the number on my phone sat in the back of everyone's mind, refusing to fade. Monday at 8:12 a.m, I logged into the utility portals from my desk at the registrar's office and took my card off everything I'd set and forgotten. City utilities. Auto pay off. Gas. Remove card ending 4821. I sent polite messages because that's the tone that gets you a response. Subject. Auto pay cancellation for Virginia Hayes, Mum's address. Hello. Please confirm removal of my card on file and cancellation of auto pay for the above account. Billing should revert to paper. Thank you, Zariah, authorised user. Confirmations pinged back in my inbox by 9:03 and 9:17. I screenshotted both and slid them into a folder labelled Mom Receipts. At 9:30, I texted the family chat, me, Krista, Gregory and Natalia, with a Google Sheet link. Me. Here's a clean sign-up for weeks, starting today. Columns are week of, on call, backup, please pick your weeks. Link, Mom Care Rotation, June. Me. Total out of pocket. Jan-June, 3,247 18s. Please reimburse by Friday 5 p.m. So we start even. Me. If a week stays blank, it stays blank. No default to me. The 3 dots bubbled and vanished, then nothing. Work carried me until 5. Students asking about transfer credits, a printer jam, a stack of envelopes to stuff. My hands did the task they know. My head buzzed like a light about to burn out. At 7:22 p.m, Mum left a voicemail. It's me. I liked the cake. Lemon was the right call. Thank you for keeping track of things. I didn't know it was so much. Anyway, I love you. Her voice caught on much, just enough to scratch my throat from the inside. I sat in my car in the community college lot and cried into my sleeve until it passed. Then I put the phone face down on the passenger seat and drove home. Tuesday, 11:06 a.m, my desk phone rang. This is Rita from Dr. Singh's office, a bright voice said. We had Virginia down for 10 o'clock and she didn't arrive. Can we reschedule? She didn't have a ride, I said before I could stop myself. Then I made my voice steadier. Please call her to reschedule and also add these as primary contacts. I read her Krista's number and Gregory's, then asked to be moved to alternate, Rita typed. Got it. Do Wednesdays work better? I'm not sure, I said. Call her first. One of us will confirm. I texted the group chat. Me. Clinic says Mom missed a 10 a.m. I gave them your numbers. Please reschedule and put it on the sheet. Link again. No names appeared in the on-call column. The week of June 5 row blinked at me like it was trying to get my attention. By Wednesday morning, the quiet around the spreadsheet felt like a dare. I kept my hands on my own side of the rope. At 10:41 a.m, Quinn texted me a photo. A yellow tag slapped on Mum's screen door. Quinn, saw this on Virginia's just now. Thought you'd want to know. The tag said, in black block letters, service interruption warning, gas, balance due, pay to avoid shut-off. Below it, amount, $158.40. Due by Friday, 5 p.m. Someone had initialed it in blue. My stomach dropped and then floated. Not panic exactly, just the cold recognition of what I'd been propping up. I forwarded the photo to the group chat and added, "Deadline stands. Slots are empty. This is what blank looks like." Krista read it. Her little face popped up under the message. No reply. Gregory didn't even open it for a few minutes. I set my phone face down again and filed transcripts until lunch. At 12:20, I ate a yogurt and stared at the Google sheet. The rows were still bare. Week of June 12th, June 19th, June 26th, all as clean as a new calendar. I clicked the tab for notes and typed, "Utilities now paper billing. Bills will arrive at Mom's. Whoever's on call handles and logs payment in notes with dates amount." Natalia texted separately at 1:05. Natalia, "Do you want me to nudge? Or stay out of the way?" Me, "You can post the link again. I'm not adding more." Natalia, "Copy." Posting link. A minute later, the link pinged again in the family chat with Natalia's name above it. No confetti, no emojis. At 4:02, my phone buzzed with another voicemail from Mom. "Quinn said there's a yellow thing. I'm fine. I have blankets if it gets cold. Don't worry." She paused. "I'm not hungry either." Cake took the edge off. She was trying to make it light. It made me grip the edge of my desk until the knuckles went white. I didn't call back right away. I signed 2 more forms and walked them to admissions. I sorted campus mail. I answered a question about parking permits like nothing outside that office existed. Back at my desk, I opened the family chat and typed slowly, so I didn't say anything I couldn't stand by later. The plan hasn't changed. Reimburse by Friday 5 p.m. Choose your weeks. If the calendar is blank, it's blank. I'm not filling it in for you. Then I closed the app and let the quiet do what I haven't let it do in months, make everyone else hear it. The replies started an hour after I sent the photo of the yellow tag. Krista, "This is cruelty. You're punishing Mom to make a point to me." Krista, "Weaponizing logistics." "Really?" I stared at weaponizing and reread it twice. Then I typed, "Me. Boundaries aren't punishment. Bills are real. The notice says Friday 5 p.m. Whoever's on this week handles it. That's the deal." Gregory chimed in 5 minutes later. "Gregory, let's not fight in here. We can figure the weeks. Can someone resend the link?" Natalia, "On it." Natalia, "Mom care rotation, June. Same link." I added a bills handled column so we can note what was paid. She followed with a second message, neat as if it were on a whiteboard. Natalia, "Proposal. June has 4 weeks. 3 of you rotate. Each takes a week. For reimbursements, total $3,847.18 split. Once $9.23 to $59 each from Krista plus Gregory to Zariah by Friday 5 p.m. Then you start clean. Sound fair? Krista's typing bubbles bobbed, then stopped. Krista, "I'm not Venmoing you for being a daughter. I buy things for Mum too. I just don't keep receipts because she's not a job." I breathed out through my nose and kept it steady. Me. "This isn't about labels. It's about math." I took on bills to keep her from shut-offs because the online thing stressed her out. That's fine if we all agree. It's not fine if it's just me. Gregory, "I can do some weeks. My schedule is tight, but if I know ahead, I can move a couple oil changes around. Let's put names down." Krista, "I have the kids' soccer tournament this weekend, and open house next week. It's not that easy." Me, "That's why it's a rotation. We pick weeks that work. Backup is listed." I thought for a second and added what I'd been sitting on. Me, "Also, whoever's on call gets a small stipend for gas time. 50 week, cash or jar at Mum's. It keeps incidental costs from being hidden." Krista, "We are family. We don't pay each other to help our mother." Me, "Exactly. We're family. We don't make one person do it for free while the rest say thank you. Stipend is for whoever's week it is. If it's you, it's you." Gregory, $50 seems reasonable. Gas is not free. Natalia, "The stipend helps." I'll add a stipend paid checkbox to the sheet so it's not awkward. Krista sent the eye roll emoji. Then, I'll think about it tonight. I need to feed my kids. I put my phone face down and let the conversation end where it did. No one typed their name into week of June 5th. The warning tag sat on my camera roll like a dare. Thursday was slow at work. Summer does that. Before lunch, I checked the sheet again. Still blank. No bills handled notes. I resisted the muscle memory of logging into city utilities. I ate a sandwich outside on the concrete step behind the building and texted Mum. Me. How are you feeling today? Mum. Fine. Don't fuss. Quinn took my paper out from the bushes. He's nosy. Me. He cares. Did anyone call about the clinic appointment? Mum. A lady called. I told her to ask you, but if you want me to ask Krista, I can. Me. Give them Krista's number and Gregory's. I'm stepping back so we can be fair. Mum. Okay. Lemon icing was good. At 2:48, Natalia posted a screenshot of the sheet in the chat, with the cursor blinking in the empty on-call cells. Natalia. Gentle nudge. We need names by end of day. Otherwise blank means blank. Bills included. Krista. Stop. We get it. I have a job too. Gregory. We all do. Let's just pick. I can't today. Maybe tomorrow I can swing by after work to drop off groceries if needed. Me. Groceries go with the week. Whoever's on handles it. Please put your name down if you're offering, so Mum knows who's coming. A long pause. Nothing changed on the sheet. That evening, I silenced the chat and washed my dishes. I put a load of towels in my own washer and thought of Mum's 20 steps down, 20 up. I did not drive over. I answered a call from Sejay about brunch Sunday and put it in my calendar like a dare to myself to protect it. By bedtime, there was still no notification from the utility portal because I wasn't on it anymore. I lay in the dark, phone face down, hand itching for it anyway. I let that itch pass. Friday, 7:51 a.m, I checked the sheet before I brushed my teeth. Still blank. The notes tab had one line from Natalia. Shut off, warning due. Friday, 5 p.m. I made coffee and sat on the edge of my bed. The chat pinged. Krista, I can't do this week. I'll look at next week. Gregory, I might be able to do next week too. Let me check with the shop. We've got a couple cars waiting on parts. I didn't type anything. I let the lack of a plan be the plan. At 8:12, Quinn's name flashed on my screen. Quinn, saw your mum on the porch. Asked if she wanted me to pick up anything. She said she'll skip dinner. Not hungry, she said. Thought you should know. My chest tightened and then went cold. I stared at the message, at the word skip, at the rest of the sheet still blank, and the clock that would not stop moving toward 5. I sat on my hands until noon. I answered emails. I stamped 2 transcripts. I ate half a granola bar and put the other half back in the drawer. At 12:04, my phone buzzed with Gregory's name. He didn't bother with hello. I'm at Mars, he said, breath a little winded like he'd taken the stairs fast. Listen. He pulled the phone away and opened the fridge. The hollow echo bounced into my ear. A condiment door rattled. She's got mustard and a jar of pickles, he said, back on the line. That's it. I swallowed. The yellow tag? It's on the door. I'm calling the number. A beat. Give me the account number. It's on the tag under referent. I could see the photo in my head, 6 digits in blue pen. He read it back. Okay. Paper rustled. Also, I'm Venmoing you now. Half of that total you sent. 1,123.59, right? I can't do math and punch in this robot at the same time. My screen blinked with a Venmo notification before he even hung up. Gregory paid you 1,623.59. Note. For Mum. He called back 2 minutes later. Paid $158.40 toll. They said since it's before 5, it'll clear today. I'll text you the confirmation. A screenshot came through. Payment confirmation with a big green check, the amount, date, time, 12 p.m. Then a photo of the counter, 10 minutes after that. Eggs, milk, a rotisserie chicken, bread, bananas, a bag of rice, frozen veggies sweating into the plastic, and a bouquet of daisies he must have grabbed by the register without thinking about it. His hand was in the corner of the frame, grease under his nail beds he never gets out all the way. In the group chat, he finally typed, Gregory, gas paid, groceries here. I'll take this week, and next week if needed. I put my name on the sheet. I refreshed the Google sheet. The week of June 5 row had Gregory in on-call. The week of June 12 row had Gregory too. He checked the bills handled box for gas on $158, 4269. Krista hadn't said anything since morning. Natalia added her email address to the sheet, and I saw a little coloured circle with a K pop up in the corner, like she'd been nudged into the room. 5 minutes later, my Venmo buzzed again. Krista paid you $1,623 non-fee 9. Note. Fine. Krista. Money sent. I'll take next week. I can't do a stipend because we're not made of money. Gregory. I already put my name on next week. I can move mine if you're actually taking it. Krista. Yes, I'm taking it. Monday through Sunday. I'll take it. Gregory, 2 beats later. Done. I'll switch my second week to the one after. June 19th. On the sheet, his name slid from week of June 12 to week of June 19th. The cursor blinked where he'd been. Me. Stipend is $50 a week to whoever's on. Cash at Mum's. No exceptions. If it's your week, you get it too. Krista. Eye roll emoji. I said what I said. Natalia. Jar on the counter with a label. I can drop off a Sharpie and tape. Gregory. There's a mason jar by the stove with buttons in it. I'll dump it and tape a note. I've got 2 20s and a 10 on me. First week covered. A new photo landed. Greg's hand holding up a ball jar with a strip of masking tape across it. In block letters, he'd written, on call stipend, $50. The jar sat next to a vase with the daisies shoved in, a little crooked. 2 20s and a 10 lay under the glass like pinned butterflies. Mum's text came through to me, separate. Photo of the chicken in a pan. He brought flowers, she wrote. Silly boy. I let my shoulders drop for the first time all week. The rest of Friday ticked by without more drama. I filed the payment screenshot in the Mom Receipts folder, this time not because I was hiding it, but because it's where things live now. Saturday, I stayed out of the way. The chat had little pings. Gregory asking if Mom liked the brown rice cooked soft or with a bite. Soft, I typed, uninvited. He replied with a thumbs up. Natalia stopping by with a plastic pill organiser for Krista's week. Krista asking where the spare trash bags were, under the sink, Greg said before I could. Sunday afternoon, I drove to the farmer's market with Seije, drank iced coffee, and came home with peaches. I texted Mum a photo of the prettiest one, and a love you. She sent back a heart and a sticker of a cartoon lemon wearing sunglasses that she must have found in her keyboard. At 8:03 p.m, Gregory typed in the chat, Gregory. Gas is fine. I turned the burner on to check. Fridge stocked. I put the clinic appointment on the fridge for next week, BC. Rita called back. Monday at 9:30. Krista, that's you. There's a note with the address. Krista reacted with a K. I went to bed early. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. The rotation on the sheet had 3 weeks filled now. Greg, Krista, Greg. The stipend pay boxes were checked for this week, blank for the next 2. The jar in Greg's photo had that first $50 ready. At 5:02 a.m, Monday, my phone lit up on the nightstand. It buzzed once and then went quiet because of Do Not Disturb, but the preview still slid across the screen. Krista. What time are Mum's meds again? A minute later, Krista. Where's the list? I rolled over and let the screen go dark. The jar on the counter was there. The calendar was taped to the fridge. My week was blank on purpose. Krista's texts stacked up while my phone was still on Do Not Disturb. Krista. What time are Mum's meds again? Krista. Where's the list? At 7:10 a.m, I slid the switch off D&D and answered without inviting more. Me. Picture attached. Same organiser I've used. Top drawer by the stove. Photo of the blue pill organiser, Monday, Sunday labelled, sitting in Mom's top kitchen drawer with the pharmacy printout underneath, 3 dots. Then, Krista. Got it. At 8:55 she posted a photo of Mum's porch. The yellow gas tag was gone. In its place, the screen door hung clean, the masking tape, on-call stipend 50 jar, visible on the counter through the kitchen window. Krista. Is the gas situation fixed? Gregory. Paid Friday. See above for confirmation. He reposted the screenshot with the green check. At least that piece was steady. At 9:22, my phone buzzed again. Krista. We're at Dr. Singh's 5 minutes out. Parking sucks. I pictured the clinic lot off Maple with its 3 decent spots and a dozen that require a 3-point turn. I didn't answer. At 10:03, while I was logging transcript requests, a text from Krista landed in the group chat. Krista. On hold with the clinic to reschedule that missed one from last week. They're saying Monday at 9:30 was today's, and we made it. Next follow-up is, I'm still holding. This music is going to kill me. I pictured the looping flute version of a song that used to be on the radio. A minute later, Krista. 28 minutes for the record. Gregory. Welcome to the party. Natalia added a crying, laughing emoji that managed not to be mean. By noon, Krista posted a photo of a grocery cart, the low-sodium soups, the good crackers, greens. At 6:11 p.m, she sent another. Krista. Pharmacy closed. Went at 6:05. They're open again at 9. Mum has enough for tonight and morning, right? Me. Yes. Night pills are in the PM row. Amlodipine in the morning. Alarm on her phone is set for 9 Krista. Thanks. Tuesday 11:20 a.m, Quinn texted me a photo from his porch. It was of Krista on Mum's steps, carrying the laundry basket up, cheeks red, mouth set in a line. He didn't caption it, just sent it. Then a second message. Quinn. She didn't want help, stubborn like her mama. Me. Thanks for the eyes. Krista's messages changed shape as the week went on. Fewer declarations, more questions, fewer emojis. Tuesday night, Krista. Mum hates the low-sodium soup. She made a face like I poisoned her. Suggestions? Me. Chicken and rice. Use some of Greg's rotisserie, cook the rice soft. Salt at the table for you, lemon for her. Krista. Okay. Wednesday, a quiet ping in the family chat. Krista. I'm sorry I was late today, Mum. I misjudged traffic from school. I'll be earlier tomorrow. Mum reacted with a heart. 10 minutes later, another. Krista. And sorry if I acted like this was simple. It isn't. She didn't put my name in it, but I felt the edge of something soften anyway. At 7:02 p.m, a photo appeared in the chat. Our rotation printed and taped to the fridge with blue painter's tape. The squares had names through the end of the month. Backup had Quinn's number added with emergencies only, written under it in Mom's careful hand. Krista. Here's the calendar. I added the clinic dates and the trash pickup days. Backups listed. We can revisit on the first Saturday of each month. Gregory. Works for me. Natalia. I'll put it on my calendar too so I can remind the room. Later, after the kids were in bed, if I know her schedule, Krista sent me a photo separate from the group. The mason jar, the daisies a little drooped, and 2 20s and a 10 in the glass. Krista. I put $50 in the jar. For whoever's week is next. I'll do that each month, okay? Me. Okay. Thursday. She texted me a picture of the pill organiser again, this time filled correctly. Morning meds in the AM line, PM quiet. Double check, she wrote. I zoomed in, saw she'd gotten it and sent back a thumbs up. She didn't ask where the trash bags were. She must have found them under the sink. She still had her tone sometimes. I can't believe the pharmacy closes at 6 like it's 1989, but it came with a receipt photo. 14 tiles or 19 copay, logged on the sheet, she typed. The bills handled column finally had her initials next to that line. By Friday, Mum sounded more like herself on voicemail. Krista put lemon on that chicken, she said. It's not salt, but it tricks you if you squint. Saturday afternoon, we met at Mum's kitchen table. Natalia brought her legal pad. Gregory brought a pencil and his calm. Krista had a tote bag with practical things. Refill of trash bags, the good crackers Mum likes, a new pair of oven mitts because the old ones had a hole. We went down the list. Rotation stands, weeks assigned through July, backup numbers listed, Greg first for car stuff, me for medical questions, Quinn as eyes on the block if we can't reach anyone. Stipend jar stays. Whoever's on call takes $50 at the start of their week, and the other 2 split replenishing it before the next. We put a note on the inside of a cabinet. First Saturday of the month, 2 p.m. Review calendar. Krista looked at me, not quite meeting my eyes. It's a lot, she said. Not dramatic, just true. It has been, I said. Not unkind. Also true. We cleaned up the crumbs. Natalia taped the backup list beside the calendar straight so it wouldn't drive her nuts. Mom patted the jar like it was a pet and said, "Label's nice." Sunday dawned quiet. My phone stayed face down. My calendar was blissfully blank. I made coffee, flipped my own eggs, and didn't count anybody's stares. I woke up on Sunday without an alarm and didn't rush. I made pancakes because I wanted pancakes, flipped them until the edges went lacy, and ate two standing at my counter with syrup and sliced peaches from the market. My phone face down on the table stayed where I put it. At 10:18, Seiji texted, "Brunch at 11:30? Tallies." I wiped my hands and said yes. I put on clean jeans, watered the plant on my sill that refuses to die, and left early enough to snag parking. We sat outside and split an omelette like we always do when we can't choose. I told her about the yellow tag and the jar and how the list now lives on Mum's fridge. She listened and didn't give me advice, which is why she's good. "You look lighter," she said, tearing toast. "Keep it that way." "I'm trying," I said. After brunch, I drove toward Mom's, not because anyone texted me, not because a bill was due, because I had an hour and I wanted to see her. I pulled up to her bungalow and saw Quinn on his porch with a crossword and a glass of iced tea. He gave me a little salute like a mailman who can't help himself. Inside, Mum was at the table with the Sunday paper, the comics splayed open. "Look at who's not in a hurry," she said, glasses halfway down her nose. "Guilty." I washed my hands and pulled an apple from the fruit bowl. I cut it into clean slices the way she likes and slid the plate toward her. She took one and talked about her dad like she'd just left the farm he ran, even though he's been gone 40 years. She told half a story about him losing a boot in the mud and laughing anyway. She stopped in the middle to eat a slice and pick up the thread again. I didn't correct the details or finish the end. I just listened. From my seat, I could see the fridge. The calendar was taped there with blue painter's tape, squares filled through the end of next month. Week of June 19th, Gregory. June 26th, Zariah. In my own handwriting, because I'd taken a week I could manage, rides after work, a Saturday morning grocery run, the kind I could plan for without it swallowing me. Backup had our numbers and Quinn's in neat block letters. On the counter, the mason jar sat next to a new bunch of daisies in a coffee mug, the tape label still straight. On call, stipend, $50. 320s were tucked behind the glass. "Krista put those in," Mum said, catching my look. She said something about making sure it's stocked so no one hemorrhages their gas money. She smiled at the word like it tickled her. She's bossy, but it helps when it's pointed in the right direction. "How are you feeling?" I asked. "Tired of soup," she said, wrinkling her nose. "But the chicken with lemon was okay." "Greg brings variety," I said. "He'll bring you something from the grill this week if you ask." "He already told me," she said, pretending she wasn't pleased. "Ribs. Don't tell my cardiologist." We were on our second apple when the door opened and Krista came in with a reusable tote bumping against her knee. Practical stuff clinked. A refill of dish soap, trash bags, a pack of the good crackers Mom likes, and the pill organiser Natalia had dropped off, now labelled in fresh Sharpie. "Hey!" Krista said to me, softer than last week. No exclamation point. "Hey!" I stood to rinse the knife. She set the tote down and pulled out a lemon like it was a joke they now shared. "How was brunch?" she asked, tucking hair behind her ear. "Good," I said. "We split an omelette." She nodded like she understood that it was the point. She didn't apologise again, not directly, but she moved to the fridge and tapped the square with her name on next Friday's clinic follow-up like a promise. "I'll get her there. I put it on my classroom calendar too. Dr. Singh will be impressed you know the parking hack," I said. She snorted. "I learned. Don't go at the top of the hour." We didn't hug. We didn't avoid eyes either. She opened the pill organiser, checked the PM row, and put it back in the top drawer. I dried the knife and slid it into its slot by the stove without narrating where it went. I took a minute in the doorway before I left. The jar was real, the calendar was real, and the quiet felt like a shared thing instead of a weight in my chest. Mum waved me off with an apple slice in her hand. "Go enjoy your Sunday," she said, and it didn't sound like a test. In the car, I reached into the glove box and slid the old manila envelope of receipts inside, behind my registration. The flap was still soft at the crease where I'd opened it by the punch bowl. I didn't throw it away. It's proof I wasn't making it up, and it's a reminder I don't have to go back to the version of me that did everything silently because I was closest. On my drive home, the Civic's AC wheezed like always. I counted the lights out of habit and didn't speed. My phone buzzed once. Gregory sending a photo of Mom on his porch later. A plate of ribs balanced on her knee, Quinn in the background pretending not to look. I hearted it and put the phone back down. I went upstairs to my apartment and let the afternoon be what it was. I folded my own towels. I planned a grocery run for my week on the calendar and nothing more. I sat by the window with a book and my parking lot view and thought about lemon juice as a substitute and all the small, boring structures we'd built to make the hard parts livable. Sundays are mine again. The rest of the week has a plan. That's enough.
Tobias was halfway through a story about his truck finally running like it should when Grandma squeezed my hand and asked about the $2,000 she mailed me. My name is Edith Hart. I'm 27, and I work as a home health aide. I live alone in a one-bedroom on the east side, the kind with thin walls and a laundry room that eats quarters. I just got into an evening nursing program that starts August 28th. The deposit is due Monday. It was Friday, late June, and I came straight to my mom's backyard with a plastic tub of potato salad and ankles that ached from a full shift on my feet. Mom, Clara, turned 50 that day. She'd strung dollar store lanterns along the fence and set up 2 coolers, one for soda, one for beer. She was doing her usual flitting, opening, closing, telling people where to put things like she was running a banquet hall. She talks with her hands, always has. And she never seems to sit down when there are people in her yard. Tobias is my younger brother, 24. He leans on things when he talks, always a little sideways, always making eye contact with whoever he most wants to impress. He had his arm draped over the deck railing and grease moons under his nails. "It's the transmission," he was saying to a cousin, like he'd personally invented one. "Guy fixed it right this time." Grandma's name is Sarah. She's 74 and small enough that you forget how strong her grip is until she takes your hand. She's the only person who ever asks me about school first and not who needs a ride or a favor. She wore a cardigan even though it was warm. She always wears a cardigan. "Eat!" Mom called, clapping twice. Paper plates went around. Somebody turned up the radio just enough to drown out the cicadas. I set the potato salad on the table and went looking for a chair where I could see the whole yard. It's a habit from work. Position yourself so you can watch the exits. "Look at you," Mom said, tugging the hem of my scrub top like it was a joke. "Still in uniform. We're not going to catch you even on your own mother's birthday?" "I'm here," I said. "Happy birthday." I kissed her cheek. She smelled like sunscreen and lighter fluid. "We're proud of Edith," Grandma said, sliding into the seat next to me like she'd been saving it. "She's starting her classes soon. When is it again?" "End of August?" "August 28th, I said. "And the deposit," Mom cut in. "How much is that anyway? We'll figure it out. Your brother has had some bad luck with the truck, but it's all settling down." "Deposit's due Monday," I said. $2,000 due now, then the rest in payments. I kept it simple. I've learned to keep it simple. Grandma patted my knee. "That's why I sent that check this week," she said. "Just to take the edge off. You got it?" I felt my fork stop halfway to my mouth. "What check?" I said. "The 2,000, Grandma said, tilting her head like maybe I hadn't heard. "I mailed it Monday morning, addressed to you, with the little note. I put for classes on the memo so you'd know not to worry about it." The yard kept moving, kids running, a cooler lid slamming, but the sound around our table thinned out. Tobias's laugh trailed off. Mom was suddenly very interested in the cake knife. "I didn't get anything in the mail," I said. I kept my voice even. "Grandma, you mailed it to me? To your mother's address, she said, looking from me to Mom and back. That's what I have in my book, honey. I thought it would be quicker. She gave a little shrug. You've always picked your mail up here. I used to. I moved out last year and a few things still trickle through her mailbox. Every month or so there's a stack on the hall table with my name mixed in. Flyers, a stray bill, whatever. Mom hands it to me with a story about who stopped by and what they needed. I've told her to stop giving out my address, but the habits run like the ruts in her driveway. Tobias cleared his throat. Grandma, he said, softer than his earlier bragging. His eyes were on his shoes now. Maybe it came and... You know the mail's been slow. It was a check, Grandma said, baffled and firm at the same time. I checked the address twice. I put a stamp with a lighthouse on it. I remember because it was pretty. Mom finally looked up. We'll figure it out, she said, smiling like her jaw hurt. Don't make a federal case out of nothing at my birthday. Everybody eat cake. Grandma squeezed my hand. How's nursing school with the 2,000 I mailed? She asked again, soft but pointed, like if she repeated it the universe would line up. What 2,000? I said. The yard went quiet. Even the radio felt far away. Grandma didn't argue. She pulled a phone out of her cardigan pocket, tapped her credit union app, and turned the screen so it caught the porch light. There was the check image, front and back. On the front, my name spelled right. Edith Hart, on the payee line, her neat cursive in the memo, for classes. On the back, big loopy letters I knew from permission slips and field trip money. Clara Hart. Under it, the deposit stamp from some bank I didn't use. Why is your name on the back of my check? I asked Mom. She blinked fast, like the question surprised her. We had a family emergency, she said. Your brother, his truck. He couldn't get to work, Edie. They were going to cut his shifts. I was going to replace it. Don't do this here. You used my check, I said. That wasn't your decision. It's 2,000, she said, voice climbing. You know I always make it right. We're family. Tobias had stopped talking. He'd slid down the railing so his shoulders rounded. He looked at his boots. It was the transmission, he muttered, like that explained math. I took a breath. I could feel my pulse in my ankles. Grandma, can you give me your credit union number? I asked. She nodded and read it off from memory. I stepped into the side yard where the light from the kitchen window spilled onto the grass. Somebody had left a bag of charcoal leaning against the house. It smelled like lighter fluid and cut grass and the heat coming off the siding. I dialed. The menu asked me to press 2 for card or check issues, and I did. A woman picked up on the second ring. Thank you for calling Riverside Community Credit Union. This is Dana. How can I help you? My grandmother, Sarah Nelson, wrote a check to me, I said. It posted, but I didn't receive it. We're looking at the image and the endorsement on the back is not mine. I'll need to verify the account holder to discuss specifics, she said, steady and polite. She's right here, I said. I walked back to the table and put the phone on speaker between the paper plates. Hello? Grandma said, leaning in. This is Sarah Nelson. Dana asked her 3 security questions. Grandma answered like she was reciting a recipe she'd made every Sunday for 30 years. Thank you, Ms. Nelson, Dana said. I'm pulling up recent cleared items. I see check number 1842, dated Monday, payable to Edith Hart, amount $2,000. I can open the image. One moment. A small pause. I do see the front. Memo reads, 4 classes. On the reverse, I see an endorsement in cursive. It reads, Pay to the order of Clara Hart, and then a signature, Clara Hart. There's a deposit stamp for First National. That's not mine, I said. If the payee did not endorse the item, that's a forged or altered endorsement, Dana said. Because Ms. Nelson is our member, we can initiate a claim. That typically involves us attempting to reverse the funds from the bank that accepted the check. We'll need a signed affidavit from you, Ms. Nelson, and a statement from the payee, Ms. Hart. We're open until 6 tonight and 9 to noon tomorrow. Mom had started pacing behind me, arms crossed tight. Edith, hang up the phone. We can fix this without making it a thing. The mechanic needed the payment to release the truck. We'll put it back when... When what? I asked, not looking at her. When my deposit's late and I lose my spot? Tobias bristled. I didn't ask her to do that, he said low. I told her I'd figure it out. You told me you'd lose your job, Mom snapped, flipping back to him, then to me. I am not going to be called a thief in my own yard. Ms. Nelson, Dana said into the chaos, unbothered. Do you want to start that claim now? I can note it and flag the item. The formal affidavits can be signed when you come in. Grandma met my eyes. They were clear. Yes, she said, but she was looking at me. Yes, I said into the phone. Please start it. I'll enter it as an altered endorsement claim, Dana said. You'll receive a case number by text and email. If you can make it in before 6, ask for our fraud specialist. He can take your statements tonight. His name is Malcolm. Do you need directions to the branch on Maple? We know it, Grandma said. Okay, Dana said. Is there anything else I can do for you? No, I said. Thank you. I ended the call. The yard noises floated back in. Radio, a kid whining about frosting, a bottle cap pinging off concrete. Mom reached for my arm. Edith, please. You don't have to drag strangers into this. It's handled. I'll get it back to you. You know I stepped away. You endorsed a check with my name on it, I said. That's not handled. Grandma was already standing. She slid her phone into her pocket and picked up her purse and her keys, like she'd been waiting for that one word. Maple closes in half an hour, she said, calm as if we were leaving early to beat the dinner rush. Let's go. The Maple branch still had the afternoon sun sitting in the windows when we walked in. It smelled like copier paper and those pens on chains. Grandma headed straight for the desk like she'd rehearsed it. We're here about an altered endorsement, she told the receptionist. Dana said to ask for Malcolm. A man in a navy tie came out, holding a clipboard and a printout. Ms. Nelson, I'm Malcolm Warren, he said. Come on back. We'll get your statements down while systems are still live. He sat us at a small table in a side office. The hum of the printer felt louder in there. He slid the check image toward us. It was the same picture from Grandma's phone, only clearer. My name on the front, the memo, and that back, pay to the order of Clara Hart, then my mother's signature and the first national stamp. I need to ask this plainly, Malcolm said, pen ready. Ms. Hart, did you authorize anyone to endorse this check on your behalf? No, I said. To your knowledge, did the payee line get altered after it left the drawer? He was looking at Grandma. No, Grandma said. I wrote Edith Hart. I sealed it. I mailed it Monday. He nodded like he'd heard it 100 times. Okay. Because Ms. Nelson is our member, we'll file what's called a breach of warranty claim with the bank that took the deposit, First National. We'll attempt to pull back those funds. We'll also credit your account provisionally once we have your affidavit. It can take a few business days while we verify signatures. He turned the form and pointed. Ms. Nelson, this is an affidavit of forged or altered endorsement. You're attesting you issued this check to Edith, and she didn't receive or negotiate it. Ms. Hart, this is a payee statement. Basically the same, from your side. My phone buzzed on the table next to the forms. Mom flashed across the screen, then again. I flipped it face down without reading. IDs, please, Malcolm said. We handed them over. The scanner made a small click. He asked us to confirm our addresses. I hesitated at Mom's street. That's where she mailed it, I said. I don't live there anymore. Noted, he said, writing quickly. We'll also need to list the endorser of record, which appears to be Clara Hart. We may contact her bank for additional information. My phone buzzed again. A text preview slid across the glass. Mom, I misunderstood. I thought it was okay BC Mail comes here. I was going to fix it. Please don't do this to your brother. Another one came right on top. Mom. I'll go to the bank Monday. Don't embarrass me like this. We're family. Grandma capped and uncapped her pen while she read the affidavit, lips moving. She signed with careful loops. I signed mine. Malcolm initialed his parts and slid carbon copies into a manila folder. Here's your case number, he said, writing it on a card and underlining it. We'll flag the item tonight. We send the claim electronically to First National. Over the weekend, it sits in their queue. Monday morning, someone on their side will pick it up. He paused just long enough to make sure we were following. In the meantime, we can place a hold on the proceeds of this deposit within their system. That's not a guarantee they won't dispute it, but it usually stops additional outflow until they review. If we recover the funds, we'll credit Ms. Nelson's account. If not, we still have internal options. What happens to the person who signed it? I asked. That's between that customer and their bank, he said. Our lane is getting our member made whole. Any criminal complaint would be something you decide with local law enforcement. We don't require it for this process. My phone lit up again. Tobias this time. Tobias. Edie, please pick up. We'll fix it. Don't do this tonight. I swallowed and kept my pen on the signature line until the ink looked dry. The room felt cool on my arms. Malcolm stapled our copies together. You may get an automated text when the claim is officially lodged, he said. If First National freezes or reverses, you might hear rumblings from anyone who got paid from those funds. That's normal. Don't discuss details over text. Grandma slipped the papers into her purse and snapped it shut. Thank you, she said, standing. We appreciate your help. He walked us out. The lobby looked emptier now. A woman was filling a coin machine in the corner. Outside, the heat slapped us again, hot car smell rising up from the blacktop. My phone buzzed in my hand before I could silence it. Tobias's name across the screen. I didn't answer. We got in Grandma's car. She adjusted the vents toward me without saying anything. 10 minutes later, as we waited at a red light, the family group chat pinged. Tobias. The mechanic says the payment bounced. He's putting the truck back on the lift. A beat, then another message. Mom, call me now. Grandma glanced at the screen and then at the traffic. She didn't say I told you so. She just tightened her hands on the wheel and merged. What's next? She asked, like we were making a grocery list. Deposits due Monday, I said. The light turned green. We rolled forward. Grandma flicked her blinker and said, Let's go to your school. I pulled up the campus on my phone. Summer hours were posted on the website. Cashier window open until 6 on Fridays for registration. It was 5:22. We can make it, I said. 15 minutes if the lights are in our favor. They will be what they are, Grandma said, but she pressed a little harder on the gas. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Mom first. Sorry I misunderstood. We'll fix it Monday. Don't mess up Tobias's job over a mix-up. Then a new tone. The family chat lighting up after Tobias's message about the truck going back on the lift. An aunt with a string of question marks. A cousin with a gif. Mom again, harder now. You are humiliating me in front of my own family. Are you happy? I silenced everything and focused on the map. We slid into a spot by the administration building at 5:39. The brick still held heat. Inside, the hall smelled like wax and old coffee. A sign on the bursar door read, Registration week hours, 8 to 6. Samantha Young stood behind the glass counting a drawer, chair already turned toward the back. Sorry, I said, pushing the door with my shoulder. Are you still open? She looked up, took in our faces, the urgency. If you're here to pay, yes, she said. Come on in. She flipped the little sign from closed back to open with 2 fingers. Name? Edith Hart, I said. Student ID? I slid the acceptance letter across because I still carried it folded in my bag. She tapped my number into the system. Nursing cohort starting August 28th, deposit due Monday. She turned the monitor a fraction so I could see the balance. 2,000 even. Grandma was already digging in her purse. I'll cover this, she told me, like it was a grocery bill. She handed over a card and her ID without being asked. Samantha glanced at both, then at me. This is for your account. You're okay with someone else paying on your behalf? Yes, I said. She's my grandmother. Great, Samantha said. She ran the card. It beeped and spit paper. She hit print again, handed each of us a copy. You're paid in full for the deposit. I'm emailing you a receipt, too. The knot under my ribs eased. It felt like I'd been bracing against a door and it finally gave. I took a picture of the paper anyway and saved it to a folder I called School. Old habit. Double backups. Samantha's tone softened, neutral but kind. Congratulations, she said. You'll get the orientation email mid-July. Any questions about the rest of the billing schedule? Monthly payments, I said. Starting September? Correct, she said, pointing to a line on the screen. Autopay is available, or you can come in. If anything changes, especially your address, update it here. She tapped the contact info. Do you want to do that now? Yes, I said. I gave her my apartment address. She read it back and hit save. My phone buzzed in my palm while she typed. Tobias this time, not loud, just one message. Tobias, I'm at the shop. He says no release till he sees the money. Can you tell them not to do this? A few seconds later, he forwarded a voicemail. I stepped aside and put it to my ear. A man's voice, steady, matter of fact. This is Maurice at Fletcher Auto, calling about the Silverado we serviced for Tobias. The check from Clara didn't clear. Until the account is settled, the vehicle is back on the lift. We'll need payment in cash, cashier's check, or card when the bank reversal is resolved. If we don't hear from you by Friday, we file a mechanic's lien. Shop number is in the caller ID. I pressed the phone to my chest for a second and looked at Grandma. She was tucking her copy of the receipt into her wallet like it was a photo. He says he'll file a lien if it's not paid, I said. That's his right, she said. We've done our part. Mom again, the tone flipping. How could you embarrass me like this? People think I stole from my own child. Do you like that? You're punishing your brother over a car. I lifted my phone and took a clear photo of the bursar receipt, the school name, the timestamp, the paid stamp in red. I sent it to the family chat with no caption. 3 dots appeared under Mom's name, then disappeared. Tobias sent a thumbs up, then nothing. Samantha slid a small packet through the window. This has your payment schedule and contact numbers, she said. If anything looks off, call me. I'm here most weekdays. She tapped her name tag, Samantha Young. Thank you, I said, for staying. She waved it off. We do this a lot the week before due dates. You're good. Back in the car, the sun had dropped enough to make the lot look gold. Traffic had thinned. We didn't talk much on the way to my side of town. Grandma drives with both hands, and she hums without realizing it, a hymn from church, the one she sings while she does dishes. When she pulled up in front of my building, she put the car in park but kept the engine running. You come by Sunday for cake? She asked, like we hadn't just lit a fuse in our family. I'll see how I feel, I said. Thank you for everything. She reached over and patted my forearm. You're doing the right thing, she said. Go take care of your phone. Clean edges. I knew what she meant. The family plan had always been a lever. I grabbed my bag and walked 2 storefronts down to the wireless store with the bright posters in the window and the air that hits you cold. I checked my messages one last time. Mom had sent, "You think you're better than us now?" And then I stepped inside, the bell over the door chiming as I crossed the threshold. The guy at the counter wore a name tag that said Gary. He looked up when the bell on the door rang. Hey, he said. Upgrade or account help? Account help, I said. I want my line off a family plan and into my own name. No problem, he said, already pulling a tablet closer. Same carrier? Yeah. Cool. We do a transfer of billing responsibility. I'll need your ID and we'll send a one-time code to your phone to verify you're the user on the line. If you're authorized, it takes like 10 minutes. I handed him my license. He typed my number, sent the code, and my phone buzzed in my hand. I read it out loud. He nodded. You're good, he said. What's the billing address going to be? I gave him my apartment. He read it back and asked for an email. You'll get your own account number. Your line will stay active during the transfer. You might see a proration on the first bill because we're splitting the cycle. He paused, glanced up. You want to keep the same plan or move to a cheaper one? Cheaper, I said. He turned the screen so I could see 2 options and their totals. We picked the one with enough data for streaming lectures. He set up autopay with my card. Any accessories or add-ons you want to ditch that were on the family plan? He asked. Insurance, hotspot, random subscriptions? Insurance stays, I said. Lose the rest. He tapped. Done. He printed a small receipt and slid it across. Your number's now in your name only. The old account will show your line as released. If the account owner asks, you can tell them to check their text messages. They get a notice. Thanks, I said. He shrugged. Happens all the time, he said. Anything else? No, I said. That's enough tonight. Outside, the air hit warm and thick. I walked 2 blocks to Mom's house because I still had my house key on my ring, and I wanted it off. The backyard music was lower now, voices floating in and out, the scrape of chairs on concrete. I stayed on the front walk. I put the key in a plain envelope and wrote Mom on the front. Inside, I added a note on a torn grocery list. I'll see you after you repay Grandma. No more borrowing. No more mail for me at your address. I slid it through the mail slot, heard it hit the floor, and turned around. A moth bumped the porch light. My phone buzzed in my pocket, then went quiet when I didn't take it out. Saturday starts early in home care. I was at my 8 o'clock, a quiet 2nd-floor apartment where I change a dressing and make tea. The building has a little courtyard where the neighbor grows tomatoes in buckets. I balanced a tote on my hip and buzzed up. 20 minutes later, on my way back to the car to grab a new box of gauze, Mom stepped out from behind a Camry like she'd been waiting. Jesus, I said, hand to my chest. You scared me. I didn't know where else to find you, she said, wringing her hands. She looked tired in the daylight, mascara smudged, hair clipped back. You didn't answer last night. I was working, I said, and sleeping. You're blowing this way out of proportion, she said, voice low like we were in a library. Tobias could lose shifts. They'll write him up for attendance. He needs that truck. You know he's been trying. The mechanic left a message, I said. He'll release it when he gets paid. She closed her eyes like I'd said something cruel. We're your family. Do you like doing this to us? Over what? 2,000? Sarah acts like she's a saint. She told me she took care of it at the school. Do you know how that makes me look? Like someone who endorsed a check that wasn't yours, I said. I kept my voice even. I could feel sweat gathering under my collar. I'm not the family ATM, Mom. A couple walked by with a dog, pretending not to look at us. Mom's mouth tightened. I said I'd put it back, she said. Monday. You could have asked me before you took it, I said. I need to go back upstairs. Please don't come to my clients' buildings. She swallowed whatever she was about to say, then switched lanes. Fine. Give me your key back. I already did, I said. It's in your mail. Her shoulders sagged. She looked smaller. You're cruel when you get like this, she said, but it sounded like a script she didn't believe. I'm busy, I said. I'll talk after you set up a plan with Grandma. I went back inside. The rest of the visit was normal. boil water, wash hands, change the bandage, talk about TV. When I left, Mom's car was gone. That night, my phone lit up with a voicemail from an unknown number. I put it on speaker on my kitchen counter while I packed my work bag for Sunday. "Hi, this is Malcolm Warren from Riverside Community Credit Union," his voice said. "Calling regarding the altered endorsement claim for check number 1842. We've received sufficient documentation to proceed with a reversal request and to place a hold on the deposited funds at First National. Based on their standard timelines, we expect a response within 48 business hours of receipt on Monday. I'm calling to confirm that you authorize us to proceed and to list Clara Hart as the endorser of record on the claim. Please call me back at the branch number. I'll be in until noon tomorrow." I replayed it once to make sure I heard it right, saved the message, and set my phone face down. The apartment was quiet. I set 2 alarms for the morning and hung my scrubs on the back of a chair. Clean edges. Then I turned off the kitchen light and went to bed. I called Malcolm back first thing. It was Sunday, just after 8. He picked up on the second ring like he'd been sitting next to the phone. "Riverside Credit Union, Malcolm speaking. This is Edith Hart," I said. "You left a voicemail last night. I authorize you to proceed. You can list Clara Hart as the endorser of record." "Thank you, Ms. Hart," he said. "I've got your case open. We've already lodged the claim with First National's Returns Department. The hold is in place on their side. Once their morning team picks it up tomorrow, we'll know whether they accept the return or request more documentation. Either way, I'll update you. You may also see written notices go out to the involved parties this week." "Okay," I said. "I'm on shift today, so I'll have my phone on silent for a few hours." "No problem," he said. "I'll leave a message if I miss you." I set the phone to Do Not Disturb and went to my Sunday client. He likes his coffee extra light and the Sunday paper read out loud. Obits first, because he says those are the only people telling the truth. It helped to have a list: meds, laundry, breakfast, things that had nothing to do with banks or trucks. Monday morning, I was back in scrubs, finishing a wound check, when a voicemail pinged. I waited until I had gloves off and my notes synced before I played it. "Ms. Hart," Malcolm said. "First National has accepted the return on item 1842. We've recovered the funds and credited Ms. Nelson's account. We'll send formal confirmation by mail today. You should expect the depository bank to contact their customer regarding the endorsement." I texted Grandma. "Malcolm says it went through. You should see the credit." She wrote back a minute later. "I see it. Balance looks right." Then a little heart she barely knows how to use. By noon, Tobias had sent another forward. A text from a number labeled Maurice in his phone. "Storage fees start today at $35 day. Lien filed with DMV. Bring payment to settle the invoice and fees to release. Fletcher Auto." He added nothing, just a photo of his knuckles, scraped like he'd tried to loosen something that wouldn't budge. I didn't answer. There wasn't anything to say that I hadn't already said. The knock on my door came that night, a single sharp hit with the side of a fist. I turned the TV down and stood a step back where I could see through the peephole. Tobias. He had his shoulders up around his ears, jaw clenched, cap pulled low. He lifted his hand like he might knock again, then seemed to think better of it. He put his forehead to the door for a second, breathed out, and walked away. My phone buzzed right after with his name. I let it go dark. Grandma texted around 9. Photo of a money order for $200 on her kitchen table, next to a note in Mom's hand. The letters a little shaky. "First payment. I'll fix this. C." I called Grandma. "Keep it," I said. "But I want you to get something in writing. Amounts, dates. No loose ends." "I already typed up a schedule," she said, whispering like Mom could hear through the line. I could picture her at the little desk in her den with the lamp that makes a circle of light. $200 a month. Due the 1st. Late fee if it's late. I left a line for her to sign. She didn't want to tonight. She said she'll do it tomorrow. "Good," I said. "Please don't let her talk you out of it." "I won't," she said. Tuesday afternoon, An all-caps text from Mom hit the family chat. Family meeting, Sunday at 3. My house, we are clearing the air, no question mark, no please. I didn't respond. A cousin sent a thumbs up. Tobias sent nothing. An hour later, Grandma texted me separately. Certified letter came to your mom from the credit union. She had to sign for it. She put it on the counter without opening it. I told her to read it, she said later. What does it say? I asked. Just the case number, and that they're investigating an altered endorsement, she said. It advises the endorser to contact their bank. I could hear her turning papers. I also got a copy in my mail, she added. Mine says the funds are credited pending final determination. That's fine, I said. It's a timeline she can't talk away. That night I scrubbed out my lunch container at the sink and set it on the rack. The apartment felt like it had clean edges again. Tobias sent me a single line at 10:13. I'm sorry. I stared at it and then put the phone face down. Sorry didn't pay Maurice. Sorry didn't put me back on the school's roster. Grandma's card had done that. I wasn't going to be sucked back into the old shape because of one line at 10 p.m. Wednesday, Grandma sent a photo of the signed plan. Mom's signature at the bottom with the S curl she's had since I was a kid. $200 due the first of each month until the full amount is repaid. Late fee of $20 after the 5th. Receipts to be kept. Looks official, I texted back. Thank you. Mom texted me separately a few hours later. You coming Sunday or you going to keep punishing your mother? I typed and deleted a few things. Then I sent, I'll be there to hear the plan. That's it. She didn't reply. Thursday afternoon, Maurice's number popped up on my screen. I let it go to voicemail. He left a short message. Same as before. Just a date added. If unpaid by Friday, we send to collections. I forwarded it to the family chat so the words weren't only mine. By Friday, I had my weekend visits lined up and my scrubs folded in a stack. I packed my binder with the repayment plan copy Grandma had sent and the bursar receipt behind it. Sunday at 3 would come either way. I could choose how I walked in. I set my phone to Do Not Disturb and started my shift. Sunday at 3, the backyard looked the same but felt different. No balloons, no music. The folding table was bare except for a stack of mail and a plastic pitcher of tap water. Mom stood with her arms wrapped around herself like she was cold even though the sun was high. You made quite a mess, she said as soon as I stepped onto the grass. No hello. Family is supposed to be loyal. You don't sick banks on your own mother. Grandma was already seated, a manila folder in front of her, glasses low on her nose. Tobias hovered by the fence, cap pulled down, hands in his pockets. He looked like he'd slept in his shirt. I didn't sick anyone on you, I said. You endorsed a check with my name on it and spent it somewhere else. That is theft. Mom flinched like the word stung. I told you I'd fix it, she said. But no, you had to make a show of it. Everyone in the family thinks I stole from my own child. Grandma opened the folder and pulled out a letter with a green return receipt stapled to the corner. I'm going to read this, she said, voice level. So we all have the same facts. She read the credit union's wording slow and even. Case number, altered endorsement, funds credited back to Sarah Nelson pending final determination. The endorser of record advised to contact their bank. She laid it down and slid another sheet on top, the repayment plan with Mom's signature from Wednesday, and a tiny yellow sticky note that said, Copy for Clara. We've already signed this, Grandma said, tapping the line with her nail. $200 on the first, $20 late fee after the 5th, receipts kept. The first payment is in my kitchen drawer. Mom stared at the page like it might change. You didn't have to do that, she muttered. I said I'd make it right. You said a lot of things, I said. This is the plan. Tobias cleared his throat, still not looking at me. Maurice moved the truck to the back, he said, like he needed to say something. Says the lien is logged. Says I can't even go get my tools out of it without him there. That's standard, Grandma said, not unkind. He's protecting his work. Mom swung on me again. You like this? You like watching us struggle? Over what, Edie? A mix-up? I like sleeping at night, I said. I like my tuition being where it belongs. So here's where I'm at. I kept my voice steady and ticked them off with my fingers. Full repayment to Grandma per the signed plan. No opening my mail. Don't use my name, my accounts, or my address for anything. Don't drop kids on my doorstep without asking and then disappearing. Don't show up at my clients' buildings. And you don't have a key to my apartment. Mom's eyes flicked to my face at that last one. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a single key on a pink keychain I didn't recognize. She set it on the table between us like it was hot. You gave me this when you moved, she said, eyes darting away. You said in case of emergencies. I never used it. I forgot I had it. I didn't remember giving her that key. Maybe I had and blocked it out, like a lot of things from those months. I picked it up and put it in my bag without a speech. Tobias's phone rang. He glanced at the screen. It's Maurice, he said, like he needed permission to answer. He put it on speaker. Hey. Maurice's voice came through, clear over the yard noise, shop sounds clanking somewhere behind him. Calling Tobias. Quick update. The account went to collections on Friday. Storage fees keep accruing daily. When you're ready to settle, it'll need to be the full amount plus fees. We can itemize it for you. Until then, the truck stays on the lift. Jesus, Tobias said under his breath. I'll text you the total as of today, Maurice went on. I'm in the office till 5. Okay, Tobias said, and hung up. He swore softly and kicked at a clump of grass, then stopped like he knew it wouldn't help. Mom turned the key spot on the table into a focal point. I get that you're mad, she said, quieter. But you didn't have to cut us off like that. The phone, the key. I'm not cutting you off, I said. I'm putting edges on things. You can still call me. You can still see me. You just can't use me to fix emergencies you created. Her mouth trembled, then went hard. You're better than us now. Is that it? No, I said. I'm not better. I'm responsible for me. I'm going to school. I can't keep paying for other people's mistakes. Grandma took the signed plan from the table and slid it back into her folder. She tucked the credit union letter in after it, squared the stack like she was closing a book. We're done here, she said to the table more than to anyone. This is settled as far as the money. Mom looked at me one last time, the fight gone flat. If I bring 200 on the first, will you come by for dinner? She asked. It was small and it was everything. I'll see you after you repay Grandma, I said. One thing at a time. I stood. I left the extra copy of the plan in Grandma's folder, and the air around it calm. Mom didn't meet my eyes. Tobias jammed his hands deeper in his pockets. I slung my bag over my shoulder. This is the last time we have this conversation, I said, not loud, and walked back through the gate into the brighter part of the afternoon. The week after the backyard meeting went quiet, in a way that felt like closing a door gently. I still had my morning list, blood pressure, bandage changes, coffee, oatmeal, but my phone stayed mostly still in my pocket. The family chat turned into a thread I didn't open. By midweek, an email from the school hit my inbox. Orientation. July 17th at 6 p.m., Parking Lot C. Bring ID for your lanyard. I added it to my calendar and set 2 reminders. I slid my acceptance letter and the bursar receipt into a binder and wrote my name on the spine in black marker. At lunch in my car, I scrolled the book list, found a used copy of Fundamentals with a missing dust jacket, and picked it up from a woman in a grocery store parking lot for $20. Clean edges. On Thursday, Grandma called and said, "You want to see something?" She had the kettle going when I got there, and the folder on the table. Inside was a letter from Riverside with a neat block of text. Claim closed, final determination in favor of the drawer, funds reversed to account ending 1142. A green card stapled to the corner showed signatures and dates. "I like the dates," Grandma said, tapping them. "They make it real." She had the repayment plan behind it with a copy of the money order for the first 200 clipped to the top and the receipt from the store that sold it. "I asked for a stamped copy," she said. The young man behind the counter rolled his eyes, but he stamped it. "Good," I said. "That's what the plan says." Mom didn't text me that week. She sent a group message the next Saturday that was just a picture of a pot roast like everything was normal. I didn't respond. Tobias sent a thumbs up. Orientation was a blur of fluorescent lights and handouts. Samantha waved when she saw me at the window and slid me my lanyard through a cutout in the glass. "You're all set," she said. "Payment plans loaded. You'll see emails about clinical placements in a few weeks." I walked the hall once just to know where things were. Linoleum, a vending machine that only takes dollar bills, rooms with dry erase boards and clocks that ticked. On my way out, I set a timer for a study block on my phone and ignored 3 missed calls from an unknown number that turned out to be a spammer. On the 1st of the month, Grandma texted me a photo again, money order on her table, another shaky note from Mom. "Second payment, we'll do better next time." We didn't dissect it. Grandma slid both receipts into the folder and closed it with a rubber band. I saw Tobias at the bus stop once when I was leaving a client near the warehouse district. He had a paper pass tucked behind his phone case and a bag with a Tupperware container fogged at the edges. He lifted his chin when he saw me. "Hey," he said like we were meeting on neutral ground. "Hey," I said. "How's school stuff?" he asked. "Starts end of August," I said. "You getting to work okay?" "Bus, sometimes Jay from night shift," he said. He rubbed the back of his neck. "It's inconvenient." "Inconvenient isn't impossible," I said. He huffed a laugh and nodded. "Yeah," he said. The bus pulled up and he stepped on. He didn't ask me for a ride, and I didn't offer one. It felt like both of us learning. The second Saturday of the month, Mom's name flashed on my phone with just a period as the message. Then, a few minutes later, I made the payment. "Dinner Sunday?" I typed. "One thing at a time." She sent back nothing, which was fine. When the school sent the fall schedule, I printed it at the library and sat at my little kitchen table with a highlighter. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday evenings. I set alarms for blocks. The hour before class, the hour after lunch, the 30 minutes in the morning before I left for a client. I moved my charger to the far side of the room so I had to get up to shut it off. My days got tight in a way that comforted me. I didn't hear from Maurice again. Tobias sent one screenshot with numbers and total due as of today across the top. He didn't add a request. I didn't reply with advice. The truck stayed on a lift somewhere I didn't need to see. On August 28th, I put a clean pair of scrubs in my bag for the morning and a notebook for the evening. I changed dressings, counted pills into a little day-of-the-week tray, and drove across town when the sun was still too high. In the classroom, the air was cool and a little stale. Students slid into chairs with the same mix of nerves and relief. The instructor wrote her name on the board and said, "Welcome," like she meant it. I took notes. I kept my phone in my bag. A few days later, on a Saturday, Grandma and I split pancakes at the diner that still has real sugar in glass dispensers. She put the folder on the booth seat beside her like a purse and asked to see my schedule. I showed her the highlighter lines and the margins where I'd written "Call Pharmacy" and "Read Chapter 3." She traced the lines with her fingertip. "Pretty," she said, smiling. "You always did like a plan." "They've been sending the payments on time," I said. "They have," she said. "I keep the receipts. I'm not mad anymore. I'm just keeping track." We ate in comfortable silence for a while, the kind where the coffee refills itself and you don't notice the clock. On the way out, she adjusted my lanyard so it sat flat. "Clean edges," she said, and kissed my cheek in the parking lot. That night, My phone buzzed with a photo from Mom, a casserole in the oven and a caption, "For the week." I sent back a thumbs up. I didn't go by. Boundaries weren't a performance anymore. They were muscle memory. Classes stacked up. Mornings stayed the same. Tea, meds, soap, towels folded with the corners tucked in. At the end of a long day, I would sit on my couch with my binder open and the street noise coming through the thin walls. It wasn't perfect. It was enough. They learned I wasn't the family ATM. I learned I don't need permission to protect what I'm building. The check went where it was supposed to. The rest of me did too.